Good morning, morning, morning. Leon Graves, morning, sir. Winston Jones, morning to you. Winston is listening from Venezuela. What is the mood in Venezuela, Winston? Cyril Mayas, morning to you, sir, and Happy New Year to you as well. Annette Beard, morning, Annette. Happy New Year to you as well. Morning, Dwayne Peters, Mikel, Ruben Rogers, morning, sir. Leon Joseph. Leon, I saw that we're under a yellow alert weather-wise from this morning until running until Friday. So I don't have to ask you what the weather is like in Toko. But we need the rain, and they did predict that the 2025 dry season is going to be pretty wet. So the reservoir is certainly going to recover, and they're almost there, at least 2 out of the 4. Rude, morning. Rena Jennings, Pauline, Buckmeyer, morning guys, PF Cutters. Who do we have on Facebook? Angela Richards, morning Angela, morning Diane. Carol Myers, morning Carol. Yes, Carol, rainy morning. Rainy start to the new year. So, after this, I go back in my bed. This damn cough frustrating me. Sarah Richards, morning. Jonathan Carr, morning sir. Joy Ragunanan, morning. Christopher Siffy, morning sir. Joan Austin, morning. Hazel Hunt, morning. Almost so 2023 there's Carol. I better go and get my glasses. Good morning to His Excellency, the President of Pleasantville, First Lady Mauricia Keegan, Nigel O'Connor, Dexter James, morning. Jenny Benbushi, morning Jenny. Ruth Fronten, Phyllis Antoine, Joy Ragunanan, morning Joy. You see who else? Harold Lee, Phyllis Antoine, Nadia Dixon, morning guys. Wilma Young, Gemma Alexander, morning. Monica Noel, morning Monica. Don Joseph, June Austin, Pearl Dowlath, Angela Richards, Margaret Matheson, morning to all of you guys. Linda Supreme, Rookman Gangadi, morning Rookman. Cheryl Mitchell, Deborah Duranti, Antoinette Batiste, morning to all of you. Marianne Devines, Tahako Bika, good morning, sir. New Year greetings to you as well. Denise Cummings, Kurt Shaw, Marlene Panton. Yes, so thank you all for joining me this morning, yesterday morning. This cough was just out of control. So, and then I remembered today was a holiday, so I said, you know what, I'll just do it today at 11 instead. But I'll just focus on one issue for today, given what today is, and I know it's still a day for people to be with family and friends and so on. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. And then I have this issue with this cough. Yeah, so I need to deal with that. But Happy New Year to all of you guys. New Year greetings to all those of you. We made it into 2025. There were those, unfortunately, who did not. One of them being a former schoolmate of mine who was killed yesterday, Randall Hector, attorney at law, who was unfortunately killed in the presence of his wife and children. It has been reported on their way from church, and that is a most unfortunate development. I can say this. Often you would hear people say a person being principled and a person who is rooted in morals, and I can certainly say that was, well, from what I knew of the guy from my, our time at St. Mary's College, and even in his professional career, which I've followed from time to time, that Randall Hector certainly was a man of principle, right? And tried to live his life that way. In fact, I think the last time we had an encounter would have been 2 weeks ago. He was walking up St. Vincent Street, passing in front of my office, and had a brief chat. Little did I know that would be the last time that I would see him alive. So it seems to be a hit similar to that of what happened to Dina Sitahal, because again, based on preliminary reports, is that he was making his way to his car with his family, and 2 vehicles pulled up. one a black SUV and another vehicle, and they opened fire on him, and he was taken to Port Spain General Hospital and lost his life, unfortunately. So, but again, preliminary reports are stating that he was prosecuting some big gang leader, and this gang leader was associated with the shooting that took place at Bessel Street a couple of days ago, which precipitated the state of emergency, the reprisals, and the like that the minister spoke about. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but condolences to Randall's family. It shows that this criminal element, they have no regard, right? Because aside from the family having to deal with the immediate aftermath of the loss of their father, their husband, their loved one, his wife and children must now endure for the rest of their lives that picture of their loved one being gunned down. I mean, his young children, they have no regard, seriously, and say, family man, boy, how will they could do that? And it tells you the challenge that the police have and the state have, that these guys could just kill with impunity. They have no regard for family. They have no regard for the fact that the man's children are there. Oh gosh, the man's children. You will have no thought in your mind that, hey, is this something that we want to imprint on their minds for the rest of their lives? The psychological effect that could have on those children having seen their father shot and killed. But they don't care because it's a work, par for the course. And they probably had a nice time last night into this morning, enjoying, ringing in the new year, probably popping off the gun and whatnot and stuff, and doing whatever else, drinking whatever they're drinking, the hard wine, the Hennessy, the whatever, celebrating that they kill a man, they take a life. They deprive a family of a loved one. Right? And they just probably still asleep, or if they wake up, and it's just a normal thing for them. Another one that they add to the list, the notch of persons they've killed. But when it is the police pick up with them and they end up on a slabbing forensic, you have those who want to come on with the police, all they're wicked and extrajudicial killing. I think it's gotten to that point. But anyway. So, state of emergency. If anything, we were learning from the state of emergency is that Trinidad and Tobago has a knack for majoring in the minor. Yeah, we specialize in making mountains out of molehills. Case in point, the fact that the Prime Minister, first of all, that the Prime Minister wasn't the one who announced the state of emergency, that he wasn't at the press conference, and started off with Akash Samaru, who says, well, before I ask the question, I have some questions, but before, where is the Prime Minister? And there are those who are critical of Minister Young and what his response was as to why the Prime Minister wasn't there. He said, he didn't think it would be appropriate for the Prime Minister to be there, given the fact that the two persons who are spearheading or leading the charge with respect to the state of emergency is the Minister of National Security and the Attorney General, in this case, acting. And I mean, what could the Prime Minister say that they can't? What details? Because if the Prime Minister came to do it, then there's no need to have the two of them there. But they were well equipped to answer any questions that the media had. But Akash didn't miss the opportunity, right? But of course, with phone in hand, and you would want to give the impression that that he was totally independent. There was no politics behind it, but he came in there glowing neon yellow, as is always the case, right? He just walking around glowing neon yellow. So we know where his political allegiance lies. He ain't fooling nobody. And the fact that you had the leader of the opposition parroting right after, calling Dr. Rowley a coward because he wasn't at the press conference. She has the audacity and the temerity to call Dr. Rowley a coward. So not showing up at a press conference makes Dr. Rowley a coward. Dr. Rowley has shown time and time again he's not afraid of the media. He has faced the media far more times than Kamala Persad-Bissessar has probably done in her entire life. Right? Probably in his 10 years as Prime Minister, or over the course of the last 4 years. Dr. Rowley has never shied away from the media. As nasty as some of them could be, their practitioners could be, he has always been there. It is a rarity for Kamala Persad-Bissessar to have a press conference and face the media. Very rare. She operates based on press releases. So the media cannot ask her any questions, right? She wake up and, hey, okay, let me comment on this. And, hey, write something there for me now. And put this in it and put that in it. And then she sends it out to the media, to all media houses to publish it. And then she will post it on her Facebook page. That is how she deals with the media, right? That is how she gets things out. So on the rare occasion that you might see, she might hold a press conference in the parliament in by the return, or wherever it is there's happening. On the rare occasion, or these few days, well, the media don't really be there to ask any questions. But anyway, yeah, that's how she operates. But you want to call Dr. Rowley a coward? Really? Dr. Rowley's not afraid to take on these journalists. We've seen him do it time and time again. And when he dropped buff in the backside, all who want to jump out and say, what you see, all he can do is buff up people, and he want to buff up the media, and he want. So all these hypocrites now who come in and talking nonsense about, oh, Dr. Rowley should have been at the press conference and why he wasn't there. What all they want him there for? Every day, all they disrespecting the man. Every day talking about Rowley must go and Rowley this and Rowley that. If it is that it is announced that the Prime Minister is going to be addressing is going to be holding a press conference after the cabinet meeting, you have people like Enshan Ishmael quick to run up on their Facebook page and talk about, yeah, I wouldn't be able to look at that because I have to go and feed my goldfish, or I have to go and watch a pot of water boil. The level of disrespect, right? Saying that all of these things are more important, sarcasm, of course, as opposed to listening to the Prime Minister. And then you have those who will tune in so they could cuss the Prime Minister. Why are you talking? Right? And those who waiting to do a running commentary after he finished to criticize everything that he said. So all they want him there for what purpose? You know, 364 days of the year you don't want to hear him, but on that one day you wanted to hear him? Really? And that would make a difference? If it is that he was there and he announced it? All of a sudden, they enter protocol. All of a sudden, Persad-Bissessar, they understand protocol and how things should work. Really? Where is the protocol when it is Barry Padarath could mount a platform and call the Prime Minister a lazy son of a bitch? That's protocol, and well, you know about protocol then. When Anil Roberts could call the former president and accuse the former president of making political appointments based on pum-pum politics. And David Nackett could refer to her as an insipid jackass. That is protocol. All of a sudden, they want to follow protocol, and the Prime Minister should have been there, and the Prime Minister should have taken the country into his confidence. Rubbish. Utter rubbish. But this anyway. I try and keep it life friendly, right? But the audacity and the temerity, she has the unmitigated gall, Persad-Bissessar, to call the Prime Minister a coward. This woman who capitulated at the altar of expediency in 2018 to say they're supporting Juan Guaido, right? Because she's trying to please Donald Trump. And Dr. Rowley say, I'll have none of it. Whoever answering the phone in Miraflores is who I will acknowledge as the president. And unless and until Juan Guaido is that person, I will acknowledge Nicolas Maduro as the president of Venezuela. And we see today the wisdom in that decision. The wisdom in that decision is why it is we have a 30-year lease and a 20-year lease contract for Dragon and Manatee and all of these different things, right? Because Dr. Rowley was not coward. In that instance, he said, you know what? Trinidad and Tobago is a sovereign nation, and we couldn't care. We going toe-to-toe. And I am not going to kowtow to Donald Trump or anybody else because the opposition calling for that. To hell with them. I am the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and my government has decided we will remain neutral. It took a lot of belly to do that, because while you had other leaders around the region who were willing to sacrifice their integrity so that they could get an invitation to come up to the White House and pay obeisance to Donald Trump. Dr. Rowley will have none of it. That's why he wasn't part of that delegation. Right? He wasn't part of that. Is that a coward? No, the coward is the one who, what Trump could do, and we have over 200,000 citizens in this country who hold in visas, and when the visa come up for renewal, and Trump could revoke their visas, and then we have the Caribbean Basin Initiative, and when that come up for renewal, and Trump could this, and Trump could that. So that means what? It means what? Where is Juan Guaido today? Speaks to the caliber of leader. That is what you call, that is a coward. That is a coward. And now that Donald Trump is about to take office in the next 18, 19 days or so, we're going to have a repeat. Remember, we have an election this year. And if you all put back Prasad Bisasa as Prime Minister, that is what we can expect. 4 years of, yes, Mr. Trump, oh, great Trump. Stupid. We don't need that type of leader in Whitehall, right? We don't need a yellow belly coward in Whitehall. And that is exactly what Kamala Prasad Bisasa is. A yellow belly coward. And Trump don't like that kind of leader, right? He don't like leaders who want to, kowtow to him. That's why he like people like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and Viktor Orban and these people, right? That's who he like. People who tough and strong and can stand up to him. He gets no pips. He gets no accolades for dealing with softies. Like, oh, okay, all right. He likes a challenge. And Kamala Prasad Bisasa is not a challenge. She's a yellow belly coward, lazy, has the audacity to call Dr. Rowley lazy. But at least I am certain if, perchance, the good citizens of this country were to put God out of their collective thoughts and play fast and loose with your vote later on this year and put her back, I am certain, unlike what Dr. Rowley met when he went in 2010, pile of files, documents to be signed, some of them 2 years old, waiting for a signature. Prasad Bisasa is not going to find that. All right? Pretty sure she's not going to find that. What she might find is that she has a lot of follow-up work to do with all of the work that Dr. Rowley has been doing and his travels that they like to criticize. That is things. But rest assured, she had time for that. She has neither the time, she doesn't have the strength to do it, she doesn't have the will to do it. Waste that time. If they want a puppet prime minister for 5 years who figure that the sole responsibility and duties of a prime minister is to cut ribbon and turn sod and spend public monies to fet certain sectors of the society because they're looking for friends, right? And just give speeches. Well, then fine, go on. Then Prasad Bisasa is the person you need. Not Keith Rowley. Okay? So this nonsense about the prime minister should have been there, and the prime minister should have been, and the prime minister should have. Miss me with that bullspit, please. Nonsense. There might be some people who feel, yeah, he should have been. For what? The prime minister just lost his second brother for the year. Right? Second brother. But they're so nasty. They wanted she come talking about he was playing golf in Tobago and he threw some party the night before and all kind of thing, and he could have made time for that, but he didn't have time to address the nation for 1 hour. What could Dr. Rowley have told the population that Fitzgerald Hines and Stuart Young couldn't? What? So you just want him to come there so Akash could have had a third person to be nasty to, and for Dr. Rowley to respond in kind? Because Dr. Rowley is always prepared for him. If you've ever noticed the interactions between the two, Dr. Rowley knows the agenda that he come in with. So that's what I wanted, so that you could give the population another opportunity. Well, those who are opposed to Dr. Rowley and the PNM to say, well, he's a raging bull and he this and he that. No, Doc, you was damn right. You in Tobago, you're grieving the loss of another brother, right? You do what you had to do. You have competent ministers who could come and do what needs to be done, and these ministers under whose direct portfolio this SOE falls, that is how it should be. But as is to be expected, the media knows who to run to for commentary, right? To comment on this latest development. The usual suspects, people like Indira Rampasad and Sheikh Mohammed. And I see now they rope in Israel Khan. Israel Khan, who should by now pack up his legal Jahaji bundle and relax. I mean, the man looks a shadow of his former self. The last couple of times that I've seen him looking wasted, I mean, he looks emaciated. Man, just relax. You're making enough money. I am sure. You don't know how much time again you have above ground. Relax yourself now. All the men don't know when to quit. Look how you're looking. It's not only me saying so, This is the demand that I am seeing that is Israel Khan as compared to the firebrand used to see sometime before. Israel looking like he and Kamala go in competition to see, should I go there, way? Here, to see who can stand up the longest, or who have the most stamina. And he's a lawyer. Relax yourself, go and retire now, man. go and see the world, travel the world, do something. You plan to remain in private practice until thy kingdom come, until the Lord say that is enough. Oh gosh, boy. Some of them just don't know when to quit. But yet another opportunity for him to attack the prime minister. So all of them who saying that the state of emergency is long overdue and it should have happened a long time ago. Rubbish. If anything, we learn from these events, right? All who begin up Gary Griffith. And Gary is the man, and they need to bring back Gary. And Rowley need to put aside the ego and bring back Gary, because Gary is the only man who knows how to deal with the crime. Gary Griffith benefited from COVID and the restrictions that were in place at the time. Despite the fact that he wants to shoot that down and he will never admit it, he benefited from that. But the other thing that he benefited from, and not say benefited from, the one thing about his tenure as Commissioner of Police that might have contributed to the perceived reduction in crime, despite the fact Pasad Bisasa will tell you something else now, because yesterday was yesterday and today is today. So when they were competing in the local election, and he was the best Commissioner of Police ever and the best Minister of National Security ever, today she's singing a different tune. So it speaks about credibility. So apart from the fact that she's a coward, she also has a significant credibility issue, right? But Griffith had this team called SORT, S-O-R-T, and by his own admission, that came about because of him wanting to reintroduce something similar to the SAUTT, which was established under the Patrick Manning administration, where you had not just police officers, but you had officers who were seconded from the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, and you had officers from Scotland Yard and so on, who were part. So we had British officers and so on. So we were able to benefit from their intelligence skills and these different things. And Gillian Luckey, now Justice Gillian Luckey, is on record as having said that Trinidad and Tobago's crime detection rate was heading in the correct direction. Meaning the amount of persons that the amount of crimes the police was solving, it was heading in the right direction when we had the SAUTT in place, when we had the blimp in place, the eye in the sky, and all of these things that were dismantled by the People's Partnership. And Gillian Luckey, said that when these things were done away with, that is when we started to see the slide in the detection rate, right? All of these tools that they dismantled, the 360-degree radar and all of these things, they say Manning spending money to protect the rest of the Caribbean region, they get rid of the OPVs, they don't like to talk about that. But they sing in a song today, oh, the borders porous, the borders porous. Well, of course, oh, the borders porous. And that is why we have so many guns in the country, all of these illegal, high-powered firearms, because the borders porous, and we have no scanners on the port. And what's the other thing, Mike? Well, else it is. That's the song they're singing today, right? But I was making the point. Griffith did I think it was on I-95.5, he did an interview with, if memory serves me correctly, it may have been John and John. I can't remember whether John and John or Dylan Tony. But he spoke about that, and he said he introduced the SORT because he was against the dismantling of the SAUTT. And he felt that what should have been done back then when he was the National Security Advisor is that they should, all that was required, and I think the PNM had to take some licks for this, all that was required to establish the SAUTT was for them to come to Parliament and make it a legal entity, right? And the UNC was talking about that while Mr. Manning, and it wasn't done for whatever reason. They came in 2010 and they said it's an illegal entity, and they did away with it. When all they had to do was to go to Parliament and pass whatever laws to make it a legal entity, because it was doing work. And we were seeing the results of it. Gillian Luckey said that. Not me, Gillian Luckey. No Justice of Appeal, Gillian Luckey said that. We were seeing the results of SAUTT, right? It wasn't just about the officers were being trained, and they had civilians who were being trained in crime scene operations. Right? So what we used to see before and what we are now seeing again, and would that take place, and you have people all over the crime scene, right? When SAUTT SORT was in place, you would see they cordon off the area with the caution tape and whatnot, so keep people and they're taking their pictures. That is when we started to see these things taking place. these guys in the white gown and so on, and they're protecting the crime scene and taking all of the necessary evidence and all of that. Things that we weren't seeing before. So we were seeing a change in the way the police operated with respect to crime scene analysis and all of these different things. How they process the crime scene and all of that, right? Needed improvements in forensics, and we were heading there. Rather than come in 2010 and continue that because you criticize it when you were in opposition, you come in now and you realize these things making sense, but I can't continue it because I told the population it don't make sense, and I told the population it's not good. And if it is that I maintain it, then the population will see that I'm a blasted liar. And all the things that I said, it really wasn't in the interest of it. It was just to play cheap politics. And that is the unfortunate thing. And it happens on both sides, all sides, right? Sometimes we criticize things when we're in opposition, and when we get into office, we can't, and we realize it makes sense. Unfortunately, we can't use it because if it is that you vilified it when you're in opposition, this is why we need to be careful the things and the criticisms that we make when you're in opposition. So they get rid of SORT. What did they replace it with? Nothing. They got rid of the blimp. They said the blimp thing. Okay, I think it's Manning and what? They get rid of that. What they replaced it with? Absolutely nothing. The eye in the sky, these were the retractable towers, you know, that they had where so the police thing, and then they go up, and they used to have these mobile units all over the place in the car parks and the malls and so on. So if anything happened, you know, right? Where are those units today? When was the last time you saw one of those? All these things that they got rid of, what did they replace it with? Absolutely nothing. Gary will come and tell you about National Operations Center and the whatnot and the thing, and they put cameras and all of that. Okay. Right? But that should have been supplemental to what you came and met in place. So all who want to blame this administration for the state of crime, and when it is that you show what the other side that is offering themselves as an alternative, when we choose to ignore the things that they did that contributed to us being where we are today, something wrong with all here. Something is very wrong with you all. Because if SAUTT was still in place and they had enhanced it, I could tell you we wouldn't be where we are today. And rather than simply go to Parliament and make it legal, they decide to get rid of it. And they had lawsuits and stuff and whatnot. They come and tell you about SSA and who was spying on who. That is what was important to them. But they don't like to hear, no, don't blame them. Anything. They want to blame Kamala and blame Kamala. Kamala's solution to the crime situation is to give law-abiding citizens firearm users licenses. So I want to ask her, the shooting that took place outside Besson Street, how would giving law-abiding citizens firearm users licenses have prevented that? So we tell the citizens, well, all you who live in around the area who have firearm users licenses and all they're suffering, all they can't afford to buy food, but you have money to buy a gun, right? So your FUL could make sense. When you see these things happening, run outside your house and play Wild Wild West and shoot the perpetrators, help the police. That's why you have FUL. Not just to protect yourself, but you need to aid the police. So if it is that you see a shooting take place like that, and the police ducking for cover inside the police station, or they must run outside and shoot from the hip. Yes? And when the dust cleared, the police must tell all their thanks. Thanks for doing what we couldn't do. That's how it's supposed to work, eh? That's how the FUL will help. So the 5 persons who were killed in Laventille, and the police are reporting that a couple of them were known to the police. So we giving them FUL too, so that they can protect themselves? Or is it, of course, no, well, they're not law-abiding citizens because they have a police record. So how were they to protect themselves? So is it that the law-abiding citizens who living in and around the neighborhood supposed to see, hey, them fellas looking suspicious. Hey, all you see some suspicious fellas looking in the area. Get all your guns ready. They look like they're going to put down a hit. So if they kill anybody, as soon as they come outside, we running outside and we go in and play Marshall Dillon and Festus and Chester, and we go in and enjoy peace, and we will do the police work. That's how it's supposed to help. Her solution is, let us create 3 additional ministries for national security. So aside from the Ministry of National Security, we'll have the Ministry of Justice, we will have the Ministry of Home Affairs, and we have the Ministry of Defense. So 3 additional ministers to give perks to. We complaining, oh, Rowley and them going to get pay raise, and how much money it costs in taxpayers, and they're going to get back pay. But let us create 3 additional ministries where, aside from having to pay salaries to 3 additional ministers, to entitle 3 additional ministers to all the perks to buy fancy car for how much hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars and have to pay no taxes on that. And what are all the other perks that they get? Never mind that they're probably not even going to be elected representatives. We bring them through the Senate. So jobs for the boys. We have to rent buildings now to house these 3 new ministries. So that's additional money. Who we renting the buildings from? Residents and Beatam and Silats? Who we renting it from? Where are we going to locate these ministries? Not in Port of Spain? More than likely. Or even if we locate it outside of Port of Spain, who are we renting it from? The average citizen? But Rowley want to make the rich richer. Who preparing themselves? Who building buildings all now in anticipation and waiting patiently in the wings? Because they tell themselves, Kamala coming back and I have a building to rent, or I have buildings to rent. But yet still, Rowley in the back pocket of the 1%. So while Rowley is taking state enterprises and taking ministries out of rented accommodation and putting them into state-owned accommodation, while Keith Rowley's administration is building state accommodation to take rent money out of the pockets of the 1%, Kamala telling you, hey, I'm going to create new ministries. And we have to rent space to house these ministries. So the money that Rowley taken out of the pocket of the 1%, I will put it back. I will put it back. So don't worry. Just run the money. Sponsor. Fund our campaign. And we will, when we come back into office, we'll handle all your nice. Don't worry. You see all them buildings that collecting dust now that when we were there between 2010 to 2015 were occupied. And for the last 7-8 years, they've been empty because Rowley decided that he going and build state-owned accommodation to house ministries and departments. Don't worry all yourself. Start to draw up the lease, man. Soon as day one and announce, we're looking for space. They're complaining about foreign exchange and forex and all the car companies going to get any forex to bring in cars. Well, all these ministries need vehicles too. Or you're going to buy bicycles for the workers. Every ministry have a set of vehicles, and you have to buy vehicles to staff for these ministries too. Who are you buying it from? Who are you buying it from? You're going by the foreign exchange dealer? Or you're buying it from the companies, the same companies that you're criticizing today using up all of the foreign exchange? The same Massey you're going by, the same Toyota you're going by, the same Southern Sales you're going by, the same Lifestyle Motors, to ask them to bring in additional vehicles for all of these additional ministries. And not just 3, we know we're going to have others, because remember, she had the largest cabinet, 33 ministers. So we don't know what other crazy ideas she's going to come up with for additional ministries to create jobs for the boys, according to David Abdullah. Right? Because how she formulates policy is by sitting down on her recliner 5 out of 7 days for the week. Well, now that the Tano Parliament, 7 days for the week, cock up her foot with a drink of choice, and she watching Fox News. And then occasionally might switch to CNN. Anytime she see and hear Trump name, hey, where my notepad? Trump's right, yeah, deport all the illegals, right? What else? Only a set of Trumpian policies she come into enact here. And that making sense to her. Can't think. But you all will be paying 30-something ministers to enact what? Trump policies? Well, better, since Trump wants to get Greenland and he wants to make Canada the 51st state, well, hey, let me ask him to make Trinidad and Tobago the 52nd state now. Yeah, so save us the trouble of having Kamala give us her version of Trump policies. Then we get direct Trump policies. Since he's interested in taking independent nations, hey, and they figure Trinidad and Tobago, we are a sole country. Well, tell them take Trinidad. I'm sure plenty of here will be happy for that. But that's their idea. What else do they have to treat with crime? They have nothing. But we want to jam Rowley and jam the PNM. And all of them, Shane Mohammed and the state of emergency ain't making no sense. And the state of emergency cannot be used as a crime fighting tool. I listened to Martin George talk a mile and a half of ARSE. When did the government ever say that the state of emergency was to be a crime-fighting tool? I listened to part of the press conference, and the minister made it perfectly clear that this is not in response to the murder rate for the year. The authorities received intelligence that there would be reprisal killings as a result of that shooting that took place outside the Besseau Street police station. And we are now hearing that the death of my former schoolmate, Randall Hector might have been a casualty of that event, or we're hearing that based on some gang leader that he was prosecuting. He had been retained by the state as a special prosecutor. Let us not forget Dana Sitahal was also a special prosecutor when she lost her life, unfortunately. But that whole situation, so we don't know what the intelligence is. I'm sure we didn't expect Stuart Young to come on 2 days ago and announce, well, this is the information that we get. This is the intelligence that we have. That is why he did not identify these. He said these specific areas that he will not name. We don't know what information they got. Unlike in 2011, when they come and tell us we have intelligence that something is going to happen that would make the 1990 coup look like a Tea Party. We know, for those of us who are around at that time and know what happened in the 1990 coup, if you're telling me that you have intelligence that something was about to happen that would make that look like a Tea Party, I would expect that you would have at least arrested a few people, right? That you would have retrieved some high-powered weapons, because how can you carry out something that would make the 1990 coup look like a Tea Party without some serious weapons, grenades, big guns, something? Not one gun received, not one gun retrieved, not one person arrested, nobody for treason, for sedition, nothing. And then it went from that. John Stanley had the audacity to stand up in the parliament and put that on Hansard, that we have information, intelligence, something that's going to happen and make the coup look like a Tea Party. Fool, well, he didn't fool me. Fool plenty people. People buy into that. And yet still today, not one person was even arrested, questioned in respect to that. But they lock up a set of boys who they had their pants below their bottom and they in white beaters and they hair in plats and they wearing their flip-flop slippers. Some of them with their backpack on their shoulder. They now come from a hard day's work, right? From a hard day's work in the hot sun, mixing cement and so on. Hey, he looked like us. Throw you in the back of the van there. Put him in the Maria. Mr. Singh, where's that one by Inspector Singh? Where's that? In the back. Carry them down the road. Why? Because the AG say lock them up and we go find the evidence later. What happened later? The state had to find millions of dollars to pay out for persons who were illegally detained without cause, justifiable cause. So they can say over 200 and something persons would have sued the state. We'll come out of that. From August to, was it November, December? Stuart Young saying in the first instance 15 days. And if it is there is need to go beyond that, you have to go to the parliament for an additional 3-month extension. In which case the opposition has to vote on it. And if they say no, and you require a majority because it's a constitutional thing, state of emergency infringes on people's constitutional rights. So you had to get the support of the opposition. So if they say no, wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. It's not the first time that they have done things that contributes to where we are today. But the fully done supporters will never accept that. And the men and women of letters who are always critical. The state of emergency, not even 24 hours. And they don't start to criticize it. As soon as the press conference over, within minutes, the media run into the usual suspects for comment, and everybody saying the same thing. It ain't gonna work, and it ain't making sense, and it's a knee-jerk reaction, and it is evidence that the government is incompetent, and it's evidence that the government is in panic mode. And it's just a gimmick, political gimmickry, because they're hoping to be able to lock down the country so that they can reduce the number of murders because they're going into a general election and they want to use that to say that they bring down crime. They didn't give the thing a chance to work. They have no idea what is the intelligence the police working with. But they already make an assessment within minutes of the press conference being concluded. Even before the regulations are published, it's going and work and it's making sense. None of them have anything positive to say. I asked them, so what is the alternative? What would you suggest the government do? All I can tell me, they should have done it 6 months ago. 6 months ago. So it would have worked 6 months ago, it can't work today? Or they should do it 1 year ago or 3 years ago. That's next one. And the rest of G1. Yeah, they should have, how long they should have done that and whatnot. And since it came in 2016. So they should have a state of emergency since 2016. Let me read this here. PM declares state of emergency. This is Jamaica. 10th of December 2024 or 14th of August 2024, Jamaica declares sudden state of emergency. Jamaica declares state of emergency after 8 killed in weekend killings. 7th of December 22, Jamaica declares widespread state of emergency to fight violent crime. 5th of December 2024, state of emergency declared in St. Andrew South. 15th of November 2022, Jamaica declares regional state of emergency due to gang violence. Jamaica Parliament approves extension of state of public emergency. And we go on. 5th of September 2019, Jamaican Prime Minister announces state of public emergency for Clarendon and a whole set of. Since 2019, we're in 2025. 6 years now, Jamaica has been utilizing states of emergency to treat with the crime situation and the gang violence in the country. Right? 6 years. Somebody needs to, one of these men and women of letters, or perhaps all of them should come together and write a general letter and send it to Andrew Holness to tell him states of emergencies don't work. You cannot use that as a crime fighting tool, as Jamaica seems to have been doing for the past 6 years. But where is the Ralph Maraj, who wrote an article earlier on last year telling Dr. Rowley that he should seek the assistance of Andrew Holness for ideas and strategies on how to deal with the crime situation and bring down the murder rate. 6 years of states of emergency. And it's still ongoing. Every time you have an upsurge, state of emergency, limited state of emergency, we're locking down this parish, curfew. Let us impinge on the freedom of movement of the law-abiding citizen because we have a few miscreants in these areas. But I want to ask all of them. Now I can read something similar for you. Barbados, 2024. Recorded an over 150% increase in the murder rate over 2023. St. Vincent and the Grenadines surpassed the murder record from 2023. Right? Almost every single Caribbean country is grappling with gun violence, gang violence, increase in murders with the use of guns. How that happening? But if you listen to some of these people here, you swear it's only in Trinidad that happened. It happened nowhere else. That's why you need to make Google your friend. Because all over, just pick up just go on your phone. Plenty of people have smart devices. You don't have Wi-Fi? Well, the government provided free Wi-Fi a lot too. If you're living in a room, you could just go and stand up anywhere on the street, go up by the dial and areas there, and you could get Wi-Fi. Just pull it up and see what is happening in all of these Caribbean countries. That is why they came together 2 years ago. Right? And they had the meeting in Hyatt. The meeting that Pasad Bisasa complained about it start too early because it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and that means she had to get up 4 o'clock to be able to reach Port of Spain for 9 o'clock. She's not accustomed getting up 4 o'clock, but Gary Griffith told us here before, during the campaign, local government campaign, that she has been waking him up 3 o'clock in the morning to discuss strategy. But she complained she had to get up 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock to be able to make it to the Hyatt for 9. Now they're so wicked how they could do that. You didn't have to go because your presence there made no difference. She vexed because she didn't get to talk. So she wastes that time. They make her get up early for nothing. She had to go back home now and make up for that, for the lost sleep. That was her complaint. When these countries came together to deal with serious matters and to declare crime situation, public health emergency. Because all of them experiencing that. All of them are seeing an upsurge in gun violence. But guess what? Just like Trinidad and Tobago, none of these countries in the Caribbean manufacture guns. None. And it's the same type of high-powered guns that we see being used in crimes and violent crimes taking place all over the Caribbean region. But in Trinidad, they tell you, why the guns here? Because the border is porous. And the Coast Guard have no vessels, and the Coast Guard don't have diesel for the vessels, and the legal ports of entry have no scanners in the ports, and that is how the guns coming into the country. Well, I want to ask if that is if that is what is causing the guns to come into the country. Jamaica recorded just over 1,150 murders for 2024. I'm sure that figure is probably going to be revised. As I said, Barbados recorded 150% increase in the murders last year over 2023 figure. St. Vincent, again, as well. St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda, all of them complaining about the increase. But the Bahamas as well, all of them complaining. Increase in gun violence. None of them, as I said before, manufacturing guns. So how are the guns getting into their country? Jamaica borders porous. The Jamaican Coast Guard, they don't have diesel. They don't have vessels. The scanner's not working on the Jamaican ports. Because if all they're telling us that is why, and that is how the guns are able to come into the country, because this is the deficiencies in Trinidad, how it getting into Jamaica? How it getting into Barbados? Barbados borders porous too? Barbados Coast Guard have no vessels, they have no diesel? I'm just asking. They have no scanners, the scanners in the Barbados port not working? Because I'd ask, because the guns getting in there, and if the deficiencies only exist in Trinidad, how is it getting into these other countries? Because their borders not porous. The scanners working on their ports. Their Coast Guard have everything that they need. No problems. Their coastlines are sufficiently covered. So how the guns getting in? How it getting in? Help us with that now. But they will never talk about the fact that anyway. But to all who saying it's the scanners, I listened to Fali Augustine talking a mile of nonsense about, oh, they tell us about the scanners, and up to now, the scanners have not come. And all right. When you're a clueless clown. Ministry of Finance, November 5th, 2024. The Ministry of Finance is pleased to announce the arrival of the first two high-medium energy mobile X-ray scanners in Trinidad on Sunday, November 3rd, 2024. In January 2024, the Ministry of Finance signed a contract with Canadian-based Sectors Technologies for the purchase of 4 high-medium mobile X-ray scanners to be used for inspection of both imports and exports. These scanners, which were built in and shipped from Paris, France, allow trained operators to view the contents of loaded trucks, containers, and vehicles. Its high-performance imaging is expected to play a significant role in improving national security by enhancing the capabilities of the Customs and Excise Division in detecting a wide range of contraband items, including weapons. Since the scanners use high-medium energy X-ray to penetrate materials, they can see through walls, containers, or vehicle parts to identify hidden objects that would otherwise be difficult to detect. So when Pali could hold a press conference and talk about, well, I listened to the press conference with the Minister of National Security and the Attorney General acting, and I was unimpressed. Well, we know, Pali, you must be an expert at being unimpressed. Every time you give a speech, you must be unimpressed because everybody else is. Every time you get dressed to look like Massa, despite the fact you're talking about Massa, they done, and you do away with that, and people could come in public office dress how they want. Every time you look in the mirror, you say, wifey, how are looking, boy? She's unimpressed. And you're probably unimpressed too. Trying all how to reinvent yourself. Because it says you're unimpressed with what currently obtains. Right? That's why what's not to buy a suit for you, because clearly you didn't know how to dress to impress. But misleading the population and talking nonsense about, they say they're buying scanners and up to now the scanners haven't come. Again, Fali, make Google your friend. You are the chief secretary. You should not be engaging in the spreading of misinformation and propaganda. It didn't take long just to go, because I recall when the scanners came, it was announced on the news. All you had to do was just go and Google it and see. You don't want to use Google it, have other search engines. You could look and find that story, that at least 2 of these scanners have arrived. Right? 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when the Parliamentary Committee on National Security, when they interrogated the Customs and Excise Division, and the Comptroller of Customs indicated that the year before, I think it was 2021 or so, that $91 million was allocated to Customs and Excise for them to get the scanners. And 1 year later, no scanners had come. Despite the fact they were allocated, according to the Comptroller, the ministry allocated them $91 million to buy scanners. And when the Comptroller was asked, so what is the holdup? What prevented you all? She said it's the procurement process, that we are awaiting approval from what was then the Central Tenders Board with respect to the RFP, the approval of the RFP and so on, so that we could go out for the tender and all of that. She said that almost a year after this $91 million was allocated to them, the government did what they were supposed to do. The ministry did what they were supposed to do. And then you had Randall Munila, who's sitting on that committee, had the unmitigated goal to ask the comptroller. So couldn't you approach the National Security Council and ask them to for permission for sole select so that you could select a vendor, right? You could use whatever methodology or strategy that you want to select one vendor, bypass the tender process, and give them the contract because this is an emergency. And the comptroller said, no, sir, I cannot do that. We cannot do that because we operate, this is the public service, and we have certain rules and guidelines that we must operate by. And it says that we have to go through the tender process. We go through what was then the Central Tenders Board, now is the OPR. This is what we have to do. So no, we could not approach the National Security Council and ask them for permission to bypass the process, bypass the proper process, and we select. So if anything go wrong, or they come in to blame me and say I'm corruption and I'm cahoots, we ain't having that. But imagine, Munilal, them always talking about the procurement legislation and the procurement legislation, and this government watered down the procurement legislation. He has the temerity to ask her if she could not bypass the process that they so defending and just select somebody and give them a contract. Did the media take him to task for that? You see what he is advocating? So you could expect that if they come back into office, rest assured that is the kind of bubble that they will engage in. That is the kind of bubble they were engaging in 2010 to 2015. And it is on public record that he has no issue, that he has no problem to ask a question like that on national TV because he thinks that is a good idea. But the comptroller had to put him in a place and say, no, sir, we cannot do that. That is not the process. This is the public service, and we have guidelines that we follow when it comes to procurement. Where were all the people who praised in Jayanti Ramdas? I know she's a hero, and she's standing in the gap for the citizens and protecting public monies. Where were you all to come and praise this comptroller when it is she put Munilal in his blasted place to let him know we're not engaging in that? What you proposing? No. That is not even a last resort measure. Where were all of these bleeding hearts who hugging up and who praising and putting Jayanti, the Auditor General, on a pedestal? Where were they to put this woman on a pedestal for standing in the gap for you and protecting public monies? Letting them know it doesn't matter who is in office. We will abide by the rules and the regulations as it pertains to proper procurement. Where were you all to defend her? No? We're not interested in that. Did the media publish that? Was that a front page story? Nah, we ain't interested in that. The Express newspaper that continues on a daily basis to show itself to be a sleazy gutter tabloid. They put up a post yesterday, a story yesterday. I get it, I saved it. They're so nasty and disgusting. This Express newspaper. Let's see, where did I save this? PM still in Tobago. Absent Rowley mourns brother. Right? That's the Express newspaper. And they put a picture of Dr. Rowley. You know, let's see if I get this here. They put this disgusting picture. I don't know where they get this picture from. Of Dr. Rowley seemingly sitting like under a bed or something, and it has some cloth hiding. Listen, let's see if I could get this here. This damn Google Ads is just for street here. This is the same Express newspaper that when the Prime Minister had announced last year a decision by Cabinet to change the coat of arms, and that they would be removing the three ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Well, the Express decided to put out an article. Well, not an article, they put out a post when rain fell one day and there was a flooding down South Key. And they put up a picture of the flooding down South Key with the caption. What did Red Boy? Needed the Nina, the Pinta, and the disrespectful. They Picture. Well, you all could go on if you want to visit the Trinidad Express website or the Facebook page and look for the article PM still in Tobago, absent Rowley mourns brother, and see the disgusting, nasty picture that they put up to make it look like Dr. Rowley hiding. That's the only picture they could have found. They're so disrespectful. And when you go into the hundreds of comments and people calling them out on the nonsense, you have people who are saying, I don't support Rowley and I don't support the PNM. But this is nastiness on the part of the Express. So that when it is that you have people who are opposed to the government and opposed to the PNM, could say, here what? In this instance, I'll put aside the politics, and this is nastiness on the part of the Express newspaper. All right? No condolences to the Prime Minister, but that's all. PM still in Tobago, absent Rowley mourns brother. And they think that is appropriate. The Express needs to understand that you are supposed to be an impartial media house. Because it's not only when people read your news, or they look at whether it is that they're reading the newspaper, or they're reading a post that you put out on social media, or they're looking at the nightly news, we expect that what we get is supposed to be factual, that we should be able to tune in, even if we don't like you. We expect that your job is to provide us with the information that we need on what is happening in the country. That you would have gone out there and done your research and done proper journalism to publish. Not what it is that you're all doing. So if it is that you have people, and whoever is the editor and who is the manager or whatever it is of OCM, shame on you all too. Because I am certain, I would like to think that you all read the newspaper that you are in charge of. That you are seeing the things that they are publishing. And ask yourself, who are the people who are doing this? And you don't find that to be disrespectful? You don't find that to be disrespectful? You should have pulled up these journalists long time, because it's not the first, it's not the second, it's not the third time. The Express is posting editorials with some of the most misleading, incorrect information, wasting people's time and money. No wonder why your stock not doing well. Because all you're doing nonsense and people not interested in spending their money on a tabloid. The Express has become worse than the Punch, the Bomb, the Blast, the TNT Mirror. Worse than all of them. If it is that to give you all advice, I would not recommend that you invest your money in OCM. I always tell you all about buying shares. I would not recommend OCM as a share to buy. Shameless. They have no integrity. And it's unfortunate that I-95.5 falls under that group. Darren and the mother suffer that, working for that disgraceful media outlet. Shame on them. But that's what they like. That's what they like. Guardian ain't too far behind. The Express has now become the Jamet of Independence Square. Gene and Diana are nothing on them. They're disgusting. I only read just to show you all that as we head into general election 2025, rest assured, all of them coming together. So it's not just the opposition forces, not just the UNC and the Pepper, the whoever and whoever. You have the media outlets now joining in the escapade to jam the PNM. Such a duty anyway. But let me just, in the interest of time, let me just come back to the issue of the state of emergency. Right? A lot of people have expressed to me concern about the police officers could come in your house without a warrant. But this is nothing new. This is nothing new. Whenever we've had states of emergency, that has been the regulation. This is not a new regulation that they put into. This is what is standard for a state of emergency. So the last time we had one in 2021 with respect to COVID, did we hear about a whole set of police officers, incidents of police officers going into people's homes without warrant and without cause for search? If you know you don't have any cocoa in the sun, you're a law-abiding citizen and you have no issues with the law, you are not known to the law. Why are you concerned about this measure where the police could come into your home and stop and search and whatever without warrant? You feel the police will just be patrolling and they say, oh, good, that looking like a nice house there, but I always wanted to see what inside the house looking like. Yeah, let me run up inside there now. I just want to see what it looked like. So we'll pretend that we will use the state of emergency regulation so we could go inside there. Oh, here I have a fella living in me like, you know. Yeah, long time I want to put 2 slap on him. Yeah, let me run up inside there now, fellas. You feel the other officers and them want to risk their job? Risk suspension? Because at the end of the day, even though they can do that, there must still be probable cause. So that if it is, after the fact that you decide, well, okay, The police came into my home, said they want to search, but they did not have any plausible cause or probable cause or good reason for doing so because I'm a law-abiding citizen. You can still seek judicial review. And then the police will have to say, well, okay, this is the information we had, this is the intelligence we had, which is why we did that. There must be some recourse. That is why all of the young men who were apprehended in 2011 without good reason and who were detained were able to bring successful suit against the state and be compensated for the inconvenience of abuse. But Gary Griffith talks about abuse of that in 2011. In fact, one of the latest posts that they put out, or he put out, let me see if I get it here. Where is it? You see, and this is why we have to be wary of these people. Only now that he and Kamala fall out, all of a sudden you're telling us things that we already knew. But you were quiet on it in 2011. It was wrong in 2011. Let me get it here. That's not it. Just now, give me 1 second here. Right. Okay, this is the one where he just bigging up himself as usual. Just let me get it. So where is this man? I was reading this morning, where he acknowledges that the 2011 SOE was abused. Where is it? I think it's on this one. Right, 100 soldiers. Right. However, the decision to implement a state of emergency has been made. Therefore, complaining about it is futile. As a responsible society, our focus must now shift to ensuring its proper management for the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago. We must not repeat the disastrous events of the 2011 state of emergency, where incompetence within the police hierarchy led to hundreds of unlawful arrests, damaging the police service's reputation and costing taxpayers significantly. As a former law enforcement head and security minister, I urge the government to ensure law enforcement agencies do not abuse their authority during this period by doing the following, and he gives a list. So he admits that the 2011 state of emergency was a disastrous failure, that there were abuses of the public, members of the public. But what did he do? He was part of the administration then. As National Security Advisor, did you advise against it? But today you're coming to criticize. But let me just highlight for you all the hypocrisy of Mr. Griffith, who for the last so many years has been criticizing the performance of Fitzgerald Hines, right? And talking about the role that the minister has to play and fighting crime. This is an article on the UNC's website, unctt.org. I've read this before, but I think it's time, now is a good time to read it again. Posted on the 20th of December 2013, Minister Gary Griffith responds to calls for crime plans. Contrary to demands for immediate crime plans by critics, Minister of National Security, Senator the Honorable Gary Griffith, says he has no intentions to rush down the tried and failed road that the nation has endured before, which involved cosmetic approaches to reduce crime. Minister Griffith blamed the previous anti-crime failures on an eagerness for fast results, a lack of understanding in basic security structures and management, and the hasty response to social pressure to announce crime plan after crime plan after crime plan every day. He equated past crime plans seen in the past to the useless act of putting a plaster on a sore and giving citizens false hope that the state was providing them with the security that they rightfully deserve. Minister Griffith made it clear that he has no intention to fool the citizenry and waste public funds on quick-win cosmetic schemes designed to please media critics or a frustrated public demanding immediate results. A frustrated public demanding immediate results. Isn't that what we have now? And isn't he part of the chorus that is demanding the same quick results? and crime plan, the same thing that he resisted when he was Minister of National Security, the same thing that he criticized when he was Minister of National Security. Today, he is part of the chorus that calling for the same thing that he said don't make sense. He described his game plan as one that will ensure that a proper foundation is prepared and laid out so that the appropriate anti-crime policies, when fully established, would be on firm ground and hence reap maximum results. He stated that a proper national security framework and a foundation of proper policies to reduce crime will be delivered. He didn't say when. In the meantime, while all you're waiting for this proper policy to reduce crime, Minister Griffith highlighted several projects that were currently in action that went unmentioned by his critics, namely a heavy increase in law enforcement presence throughout the country with more anti-crime operations, roadblocks, and stop-and-search exercises. But today, they're complaining about the same thing. When they have a roadblock, all they know to do is to terrorize the citizens, and they only stopping people to give out ticket and to give people ticket for tint and all of that. The same thing. This is what he is telling you was an effective tool when he was Minister of National Security. Let me read it again. A heavy increase in law enforcement presence throughout the country with more anti-crime operations, roadblocks, and stop-and-search exercises. So it was good then in 2013, but today it ain't good. Today it is an inconvenience for the citizens. Right? Today these same things that he told you in 2013 were effective. Today is oppressing the innocent citizens. And the government only looking for ways to take money from the citizens. So they weren't issuing tickets with these stop and search and roadblocks in 2013 and 2014. It was, no. The same people who supporting Gary now, only have a problem with these actions today. But in 2013, when he was minister, and he is praising these actions and telling you that is what is needed, you all weren't attacking him then. No, that was good. It was good then, but it's not good today. More visibility by the rebranded Highway Patrol Unit along the nation's highways to ensure road safety. Who is responsible for that? Who is responsible for dispatching the Rapid Response Unit? When Dr. Oli gets up in the morning or Minister Hines, are they responsible for drawing up the roster and telling officers where to go and who to go and what and all of that? That is the responsibility of the police service. So if there is a breakdown there, that is, who do you blame for that? You either blame the commissioner or the divisional heads or whoever is the official in charge of the station or whatever. These are the people who drop the roster, not the minister. The minister is responsible for policy. Revitalization of the National Operations Center is the backbone for intelligence gathering and sharing among law enforcement agencies. Strengthening of crime scene investigation so as to improve detection rates. Really, Gary? Really? You mean what SAUTT was doing, which is why you didn't want to get rid of it? And why you tried to bring back something similar with SORT, but you didn't want to bring back SAUTT because then it would be an admission of the nonsense that the People's Partnership did. He said that. Not me. He said that. So strengthening crime scene investigation. Not only get rid of the unit, the entity that was improving crime scene detection and improving the crime detection rate. But that makes sense. Introduction of scientific technology in the form of GPS tracking system for police vehicles so as to improve response time and serving the public. Who is responsible for that? The police service got a budget of over $2 billion. That's right. Over $2 billion was given to the police service. Ulla Christopher, the Commissioner of Police, is the accounting officer for the TGPS. Right? So if more vehicles are needed, she is the one who has to deal with that, not the minister. Right? Because over $2 billion was allocated specifically to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to pay salaries and to buy vehicles and everything else that they need. And the person who has direct charge over that is Ulla Christopher. Not Fitzgerald Hines and not Keith Rowley. Right? So people need to bear that in mind. So when it is, we see here the introduction of technology in the form of GPS tracking system for police vehicles. Is that being done? Because if that is being done, then I would like for them to tell us how it is a police vehicle could have given an escort to Philip Edward Alexander to get through the traffic to be able to reach to Shogunas on time for a meeting with Kamla Prasad Bisesa. It should be very easy if the GPS is in place to confirm if that did in fact happen, and these officers should be made to answer as to why they did that. Who sent Ole in Shogunas when you all were supposed to be patrolling the highway? But again, who's responsible for that? Keith Rowley? Stuart Young? Fitzgerald Hines? So what are we paying Ola for? And all of these divisional commanders and heads of the different regions and so on, what are we paying them for? Why are they receiving 20-something thousand plus dollars a month? For what? To do what? I continue. Reestablishing relationships with Venezuela and Colombia so as to create a collaborative approach to border security. You hear that? Reestablishing relationships with Venezuela and Colombia. But today, the same UNC have a problem with the government of Trinidad and Tobago having a relationship with the government of Venezuela. So it was critical to have a relationship with Venezuela for border security when they were in office. But today, Dr. Rowley having a relationship with the government of Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro, that is a cardinal sin. So since they criticizing Maduro, if they win the election this year, yes, because we're in 2025, that out of the window then. We're not about reestablishing any relationships with Venezuela or strengthening existing relationships with Venezuela. And how are we going to do that? You recognize the necessity for Venezuela to play a role in border security, because we have a lot of Venezuelans in the country, because we see now the fellow who got killed the other day with the Range Rover thing and who slapped up some woman, and they said there was Venezuelans on motorcycle and open fire and whatnot and stuff. How you plan to do that? We don't pick up the phone and say, "Oh, no, Nicholas, we're sorry. We didn't mean what we say. You know what, just politics now, gosh. You know what is going on, Nicholas, relax now." And that's what you're going to do. Right? And Nicholas said, "Yeah, man, forget that. The fact that you say all kind of thing about me, I crooked at this and that, I'm part of a corrupt cook up with Jindal and Rowley and all of them things. Yeah, what's under the bridge." And that's what he will say. An increase in border security operations to treat with the flow of illegal immigrants attempting to enter the country. An increase in law enforcement and border security operations to treat with the issue of human trafficking into the country. Well, a certain member of parliament sitting on the opposition bench wouldn't be too happy to hear that, right? Let me make him Minister of National Security. Establishing ties with the newly appointed Chief of Police for the New York Police Department, Mr. William Bratton, to create a national security assessment for Trinidad and Tobago, as well as to establish working relationships between the NYPD and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Groundwork for the establishment of a rapid response unit. We had that long time. Groundwork for the establishment of the virtual police officer project. In addressing the current spike in murders in the country, yes, even though they would have you believe that between 2010 to 2015 we didn't have murders. Griffith stated that his critics failed to understand that this increase is the result of criminal gangs coming under pressure from national security operations and thus violently fighting each other for turf due to the reduced opportunities for criminal activity and access to government contracts. He said the citizens were in fact much safer now than they were years ago. So we have an uptick in murders. He says it's because of the good work that the police doing and so on that has resulted in an increase in criminal gangs, but you're safer. You have an increase in murders, but you're safer today than you were years ago. Because all the good work that the national security agencies are doing is putting pressure on the gang leaders, and that's why they're killing out each other. But that's not what's happening today. No. That's not happening today, right, Gary? So when you were the Minister of National Security, the increase in murders meant we safer. But today we have an increase in murders, but we're not safer. Okay, and it's the same gangs and them doing the same thing. So when it was happening under you and the People's Partnership, we were safer, but today we're not safer because I'm confused. Help me out now, Gary. Help me out now. This is on the UNC's website. 18th of December 2013. Minister Griffith declared that he will continue working to provide avenues to reduce the fear of crime and make Trinidad and Tobago a safer place for law-abiding citizens. But remember at the start, he's not doing what it is all you want. The minister to come up with crime plans, he's not about that life. So don't come and tell me nothing about no quick fix crime plans. I know about that. Okay? The things that they want Mr. Hines to do today, the things that they want Dr. Rowley and the PNM to do today, he in 2013 was saying he ain't about that. That don't make sense. That is failure. But today, we want Hines to do it. Hines must go because why? Hines not creating crime plan. Quick fix crime plans that Gary told us don't work. It didn't work. That's why he didn't do it. But Hines need to do it. Because 11 years later it will work. But it didn't make no sense then. All kind of contradictions in this thing, you know. Murder rate gone up, you're safer today than you were years ago. Okay. And you have people who telling us bring back Gary. And Gary's the best man for the work. Put aside ego, bring back Gary. Well, they seem to forget 2 men were killed by while in custody of the police, the SORT. They were never brought to justice to answer to allegations that they were involved in the Andrea Barrett murder. Right? Let us not forget that one of these men was out on bail for several rape charges. Several rape charges. Where we would have read in some cases a couple of his victims took their life. Alleged victims, that is. How did he come out on bail? Once upon a time, when they're supposed to do tracing, and something called tracing, when it is you come before the court and they decided to give you bail, they're supposed to provide the judicial officer with your rap sheet so they could see if it is that you are a menace to society. We stopped doing that. Because this guy was out on bail after bail after bail. But when Dr. Rowley made the point that judicial officers are treating these criminals as if they are victims, oh, they rake him over the coals. Israel Khan had nothing good to say about Dr. Rowley. Or this false thing and Dr. Rowley thing and this and that. But the evidence speaks to that. Dr. Rowley is not a madman, he just get up and say things. Right? Just like the rest of us, he reads these things. When these stories are published in the, well, what is left of reliable media, of persons committing heinous crimes and getting bail. Who giving them the bail? Who giving them the bail? And so when I hear all of these UNC lawyers, Wayne Sturge, Israel Khan, Prakash Ramadar, for some reason the media don't know any PNM lawyers. They only know UNC lawyers, and all of them singing from the same hymn book that crime is out of control and is a knee-jerk reaction and the government panicking and all of that nonsense. And the government needs to do more to fight crime. With these blasted hypocrites, when it is that more is done to fight crime, at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is one of two things. Is either you apprehend the criminal element or they end up on a slab in forensic science center waiting for an autopsy. Many of us would prefer option number 2. Put them out of their misery. But ideally, from a legal perspective, we don't want to be perceived as a country that engages in extrajudicial killings. So apprehension. But when they are apprehended, what happens? These same hypocritical lawyers who come in to criticize the efforts of the government to fight crime, all of them line up in front of the courthouse. All of them representing, they have 5 and 6 matters calling the same time in the courthouse for these same blasted criminals who frustrating the country. These same UNC lawyers as who go in and stand up in front of the magistrate or the master of the court to plead and beg for them to get bail. People like Jayanti Lakshmi Dayal, Ramdayal, and Anand Ramlogan. These are the same ones who taken the state to court and suing the state for millions of dollars for these same criminal elements who frustrating the society. So when the police do their work and the government does what they have to do and provide the security forces with the resources they need to go out there and hold these miscreants, as soon as they come before the courthouse, who are the attorneys? 10 to 1 is UNC lawyer. UNC affiliated lawyers is who they run into. And they're trying to come up with all kinds of ways and means because they realize the prison population have a whole set of potential clients. People who sitting on remand for years waiting for their case to call. So now I saw a couple days ago an article with Rajai Ali, who's complaining about the length of time it taken for his matter to be dispensed. We should be concerned about that because no disrespect to the DPP, but I find the DPP just dispensing, getting rid of cases, just dropping matters just so. So we should be concerned. Next thing we hear, well, you know, it's a travesty of justice and so on, so we decide to drop the case. I just saying, right? But I don't want to hear nothing from Wade Sturge, Prakash Ramadar, Israel Khan, and all of these guys. I don't want to hear nothing from them. They should have nothing to say about the crime situation in this country. Nothing. Because anytime any of you are lawyers who want to come and tell you about Every man is entitled to a defense. And some of you holding senior counsel title and quick to go and stand up in front of the court and get bail for these men when you know they're guilty as sin. But you have a work to do because you know what? You need a new Mercedes, or you need a new Volvo, or you need a new Audi. And you're studying about your bank account. And every time the matter call, it cannot be dispensed with because only representing 5 and 6 different people on the same day and only going to the court and asking for the matter to be adjourned. Where is the justice for the law-abiding citizens? Where is the justice for them when you all do things like that because you only study in your blasted pocket? You know these men guilty. The man on bail for murder, and then they catch him with a stolen vehicle, and you're still going and represent him and ask the court to give him bail again. Why? Because your first allegiance is to your client. You ain't care that your client is stressing people. You ain't care that your client is out on bail for taking the life of somebody and distressing our family. That he might have taken the life of a breadwinner and that family now catching the nenen to make ends meet. Because your client did that and you know he guilty. But you didn't go and study law to be a humanitarian. You study law to make money and a reputation. You get him man off, yeah, that's your client, so you know you're safe. You're safe from he. But the rest of them who are not your client, you ain't safe from them. Right? And my former schoolmate, unfortunately for him, seemed like he was on the wrong side of the pendulum. Right? He was on the right side, but the wrong side. He was on the side of making sure that these bastards spend the rest of their natural life in prison. And for that, he lost his life. But the ones out there who come in to help these cretins get off so they could continue in a life of crime, they may have to worry they could walk to their vehicles nice and free. They don't have to be looking over their shoulder. They don't have to worry about their cars being shut up or their homes being shut up. No. Because them is friend with the criminals. And these criminals they get referrals. Yeah, check that. I'm a lawyer there, by. He will get you off. You need bail? Daisy man. Lucky card. Take your number. Call him. Tell him I give you his number. Yeah. What is the charge? Murder? Yeah, you worry yourself. You get bail for that, man. Easy. Your first offense? Yeah, you worry yourself, man. Yeah, you don't study it. But you know, it costing the some more. Hey, money, no problem. All right. Come and see me tomorrow. Then we start to put together this case file. And then they back out on the street. Doing it again. Doing it again. And we want to blame the government and blame the PNM. Blame Rowley and blame Hines. I will just tell you, Rowley and Hines are not judicial officers. They don't have the power to give bail. Right? Hines is an attorney. But I don't think he's going to stand up in front of any court to plead for some of these guys when you know they're guilty as sin. So that contributes to the crime situation as well, right? The deterrent factor. Because when the man know that he could commit a crime and if he get catch, he could get bail within a matter of days. Well, small thing. I'm not looking for legitimate work anyway, so I don't care if I have a rap sheet. I don't care if I can't get a clean certificate of character. I'm not interested in that anyway. In fact, I have no cause to go and look for a certificate of character. Because the life that they lead now is more than sufficient for them to live a nice life. Was he going to to, as I say, take a man goose, pull back his skull? Was he going to read for that? What is? When you had to make sure you're paying the lawyer, you had to make sure you have money every time, because every time the lawyer make an appearance, even if it's for 2 minutes, he charging by the hour, and if he's senior counsel, better set. More money. So you have to make sure you have the money to pay him. And since you don't have legitimate work, how you get any money? Do these lawyers pay a thought for that? The media has asked them these questions? No, but Rowley responsible for the crime, and Hines. And Rowley and Hines can't deal with the crime situation. So the PNM must go and bring back Kamala. And we can give Jayanti a big work. Same Jayanti who contributed to murder now being a bailable offense. And when some of these men who committing these murders should be sitting on remand, inside, they're outside. Thanks to who? Not Hines, not Rowley, not Stuart Young. UNC lawyers did that. And when it is that Israel Khan could have made the statement a couple years ago that brace for more crime, the UNC will pay a heavy political price. He said, brace for more crime. What we see now, not more crime, Israel, you forget that? You forget you said that. Brace some more crime. You predicted it, and we see it happening now. And what did you say would cause this more crime? The failure of the UNC to support critical legislation that when these bastards are caught, they could remain behind bars. Right? But when it is that you have people working on the port, some of them, unfortunately, they get caught up in the web. It's not that they want to do it, you know. My understanding is some of them, not that they want to do it. But when it is a shipment coming in and you are the officer who is on duty, and they tell you, hey, this shipment come here, but that's in a blind eye, you know, otherwise you ain't sure to make it home. Or otherwise, you could end up going home and finding your family riddled with bullets. So you know what's the order. You know what to do. Let it pass. What are you supposed to do? So the scanner's working, but hey, I had to make a choice. I let it pass and I live, or I don't let it pass. And then I had to make sure my life insurance up to date. Because anytime it could happen. Are we dealing with that? We discussing that? That's a topic for discussion? No. The borders porous, the scanners are working, and the Coast Guard, yeah, that's how it's coming in. And 7701763. Mr. Yates, call me back. You say morning to Mr. Chance. Morning, Jenny. Sergeant, mom. Jenny. So I'm gonna get this here. Don't know what's going on with this thing. 1 second. All right. Yes, sir. So let me get this here. Hold 1 second, John. I know what's going on with this thing. Just fix this here. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, morning.
Morning.
No.
Well, afternoon. Yeah. Go ahead.
I agree with everything you have said so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to pay special focus on this gentleman called Israel Khan. I mean, if you notice, in the last, say, 5 days, he has written a letter to the editor almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a roll now. He's on a roll. And all of them, all of his letters, paint a similar picture. Nasty, stink, and disrespectful to the Prime Minister of this country. Nasty and stink and low class. I don't care if people don't like to hear the term, but they must hear it and listen and imbibe it for what it is. For what it is. This is the same Israel Khan, right? who, when the UNC arm of the Law Association tried a few years ago to have Ivor Archie impeached by way of a tribunal, Dr. Rowley didn't bite the bullet. He didn't take them on. He decided he's not setting up any tribunal, as Pandey did with Michael Elakastidi, because their Indian one, Sharma, was not given the job of Chief Justice in 95 when Clinton Bernard retired. Now Pandey said, another Hindu bites the dust. And that set the tone for an all-out war on Michael Elakastidi. But fast forward 29 years later to today, 2024. What is different from what Israel Khan is doing? He wrote an article when Dr. Rowley decided that he was not setting up any tribunal to investigate Archie and have him removed by way of impeachment. Khan wrote an article, I think I have it, where he said, you know what that man said? You know what man said? The reason that Dr. Rowley will not act on Ivor Archie said it. Both of them are African and both of them from Tobago. That I could not believe what I was reading. I could not believe that this is the language of a senior counsel in this country. I could not believe, I really could not believe at the end of the day that this is the kind of individual that Kamala Bissessa presented to this country as a nominee for the presidency of this country of Trinidad and Tobago. So it's because Raoul Black and Archie Black, and they both of them from Tobago. That is why Dr. Rowley will set up a tribunal to have Archie investigated and removed as Chief Justice. But you see, this flurry of letters, all saying nasty, filthy things about Dr. Rowley, and also Ivor Archie, he has gone back to Archie again. It is consistent with that line I read for you just now. Both of them from Tobago, and both of them are African. Yes, that is it. That is the level of analysis from the senior counsel. That's the level of analysis. Nothing to do with law, nothing to do with the substantive issues as to why there should be a tribunal. He reduces it to race. Reduces it to race and racial prejudice. That's what it is. But you see the letter of a couple of days ago? We talked about, well, last Saturday's Guardian, I think. They said that Rowley has no morals and no moral and spiritual values and this and that and that. Now that is taking it to a new low. When I thought that it could not get worse in yesterday's papers, that man wrote yet another letter, repeating what he said, but at the end, including something that should make every Trinidadian, every decent right-thinking Trinidadian, and every Afro-Trinidadian, every African Trinidadian, to sit up and take very careful notice of this. He said at the end of his letter, what the PNM should do as a party, he feels smart, he put the word in quotation marks, they should kick, quote unquote, they should kick out Dr. Rowley as Prime Minister and leader of the PNM. This is the language of the senior counsel. This is the language of, and you see what that tells me, he's still dismarted from the fact that the PNM administration did not put him as president of the country. That is all it is. No more, no less. And the newspapers keep printing this filth and this nastiness all the time. I tell you, this is about the fourth or fifth letter in the last 5 or 6 days. Right through. And as far as Gary Griffith is concerned, for me, the less said the better. Because I watched the CFC 3 News night before. They ask about 5 people. These people talk and what people say and that kind of business. About three of the 5 people were Afro-Trinidadian. And to a man, all of them said, they don't believe in what this state emergency, and what they should do is bring back Gary because he do such a good job when he was commissioner. These idiots don't even realize that the highest number of so-called extrajudicial killings took place under Gary Griffith when he was commissioner of police. Remember the 3 young boys who raised their hand when police tell them come out the car and move up? Wipe them out. And all the people from Mova come to town and were marching in a rage. The 3-4 boys playing cards in Trumacat or Success Village or everything. They moved in there and mowed them down. All man dead as a net. All man. And it didn't stop there. You were right to mention the Andrea Barra thing and the 2 men who apparently fell off a chair and dead. Right? And I remember watching on TV that Gary Griffith was, you know what he said on TV? When people asked him, well, how you could come with this story, or they just fall off a chair and they're dead. You know what that man said? One of them was on a big rape charge, so he wouldn't be able to rape anybody again. He wouldn't be able to rape anybody again. This is what I saw Gary Griffith say on the TV. So these idiots on the TV, they realize that it's Gary Griffith who referred to their little black-haired children as cockroaches. And consequently, they themselves who were interviewed are also cockroaches in his eyes because they bring these children into the world. And this is the story of the idiocy of a lot of my people. And I make no bones in saying that. I make no apologies for saying that. Because they just cannot separate the forest from the trees. They just have no sense of awareness at all. Bring back Gary Griffith, a man who was most disrespectful to the Prime Minister of this country. A man who, when he had a tiff with the Prime, he was still Commissioner of Police. He was still Commissioner of Police. He said, and I read it in the Guardian, he said that he has instructed his junior officers, all the constable, corporal, sergeant, he has instructed his junior officers to ignore anything Dr. Rowley has to say as Prime Minister. Gary Griffith as Commissioner of Police. And you have wretches. You have wretches like Ralph Maraj, who support that. He wrote a column after that incident. He wrote a column, and you know what was the heading of that column? Go, comma, Gary, comma, go. Meaning, I'm supporting you in your disrespect for the Prime Minister of this country. All because Gary Griffith has a problem with Dr. Rowley, and Ralph Maraj hates Dr. Rowley, then he's supporting Gary Griffith. He's supporting Gary Griffith. The enemy of my friend. That's Gary Griffith. And I close by saying this. I've said it before, I'll say it again and close it today. The Express continues to harbor this character called Ralph Maraj in their Sunday newspaper. A package and a tissue of repetition. The same damn nonsense every Sunday. Same words, same statements, same thoughts, the same everything. Teenage pregnancies, the girls don't even know who the fathers and the children are. The meeting teachers, the this, the that, the other. Right? And if the Express, the management of the Express, see Ralph Maraj as an asset to their column pages, they are sadly mistaken. He is the worst person I have ever seen write any column in Trinidad and Tobago. And I say that without apology. He is a mess. This is nastiness personified. Nastiness personified. But then I think I've said enough. Thanks, Mr. Roman.
Thank you, sir. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That article that you referenced with Israel Khan, talking about the Prime Minister is incompetent and inept and the PNM must remove him as their political leader. Right. So Jenny, look at this here. Jenny.
Hi, Dominic.
Hi.
Good afternoon to you and all those who look on to success, stubborn things, and Happy New Year. All the best of 2025. We look for health, strength, prosperity, much life, and going forward, bringing more information and evidence, not old talk, not propaganda, not misinformation or disinformation. And we will do it fearlessly. There may be some who feel that we should not respond in kind to some of the things that some of Indian descent would say that are insulting, discriminatory, prejudicial. There was a time I may have said, we're not responding. I have gone past that because we haven't responded for years because we felt doing that. Some of Indian descendants always pretend as they're the victims and say we are the ones doing something. So it hasn't stopped them from continuing with their behaviors when we don't say anything and just hold a high standard right through. Right? I'm not saying to lower no standard, so understand the context. And 2020 would have emboldened a lot of them with the approval of Kamla Persad-Bissessar to continue to attack persons of African descent in a racist way, in a very prejudicial and discriminatory way. I am going to respond, not because I am racial, but I want us to put things in the context. And I want the conversation on race relations to start in this country. Because we know the issues the African community have. We know about the crime, we know about the children, we know all that. Because everybody does tell me that. So it is well known. But I want the focus to also be because they are citizens of this country. I want the focus also to be on the Indian community and the type of crimes that comes out of the Indian community. And let us treat with it. Let us meet at the table and understand that all races have human beings and all races have problems and issues. It's not an African thing only. So that when anything happens, the face that they put a crime and anger and ugliness and is always the face of the African person when all those things happen in the Indian community. And I think that's very unfair. And I will continue to advocate for race relations conversation to start in this country. We cannot continue like this. We cannot, as African people, continue to bear the burden of we are alone in crime. We are alone children in crime. We children are doing good. We raking the bottom of the barrel and we come and all that. I reject those things because we come from a proud ancestry. If people didn't know, enslavement happened, and it would have interrupted where we were as a people. But Africa is the center of learning. Mathematics, science, archaeology, everything you think about. We came from kings and queens. We came from kingdoms. That is a fact. So nobody's to make us feel because enslavement happened, which was a cruel and inhumane and barbarous, murderous thing that happened to us. That is how we are defined. And then some of Indian people feel that their history only started in 1845 when they came here. And I want to let them know, go and learn your history in India. It's not our fault that the Dalits were considered nothing, untouchables. They were not a part of the forefathers in India. It's not our fault. It was not right what happened. But do not move as if you all came from something so great and so magnanimous and so magnificent that you are somehow better than people of African descent. Stop it. Learn your history. And only with learning your history, you'll be able to love yourself really. And you won't be able to like form shifters where you're going around another race and you're playing it quiet at night and you're not absorbing anything. And then after all, they move these seats full against them. Let me be real. There is murder happening in the Indian community where women are concerned, and that is a silent thing is happening. They are human beings at the end of the day. The cutlass is used, that is the weapon that they use of choice. It is recorded, not me say. That is what they do. They're the first wife killers in this country. They were hanged for it, using the cutlass. So when they talk about crime, who was Zol Shady? There are conversations of people who have business in this country. It may have been, not me say so. Come out of that area. But we don't talk about that. I want to talk about Akash, what's his name? Akash Samaru. Mm-hmm. I say Akash Samaru is a potong. You know why I tell you he's a potong? He has no pedigree, he has no class. He could never match up to the journalists of the day like Dominic Kali-Prasad, Gideon Hanuman Singh, Errol Pilgrim, Julian Rogers, Sharon Pitt, and I can go on and on. Never. Because people are applauding how he asks any question. But you know what? You know what I say? He's a shitong and a potong. I'm sorry to sound like this morning, but I do business right now. You must ask Dr. Roland PNM all the hard questions. Nothing wrong with that. But when I look at the Kamla, it's a press release she does send. And when she do appear after she stupors, all those actually soft things. So how it can be fair? Or it can never be fair. Ask them the same hard questions that you want to ask the PNM. Nothing wrong with that. Ask them. And you're sitting with slump and and all kind of thing and this kind of. You think Akash Samaru could go before international journalists, or they go watch like he come from a fifth world country? He not ready. So this hero thing they want to put. It seemed to me that mediocrity of the Indian community is celebrated, and the hard work of the African community is looked down at. What is there to celebrate about Akash Samaru? What is there to celebrate about Jaiwanti Ramdas? What is there to celebrate about any one of them who doing the wrong thing in this country? But they are celebrated and working hard as people of African descent. They must look down at them. And some of the own people, because they don't love themselves, they just end up joining with them and start to cuss down and carry on about African people. And finally, before I go, the PNM never had no history of racism. They would have people in it probably who would have been racist to others. But the PNM as a party organization never had a history of racism. All their policies weren't geared to African people. All the government policies was geared towards all peoples of this country. They're the only national party. When they were formed, after 10 years of Trinidad having a legislature, when they went to election and the PNM was formed, they said it's the first time in 10 years that it had an order in this country based on what had happened in the PNM and Dr. Williams. But when they look at the UNC, they were formed out of racism. They go right back to Barrister Gamarajan before that. And there's always been the Indian party for Indian people. They went to the mundirs and they went to the temples, all the educated ones on them, and were preaching hate. Hate African people. Well, they wasn't calling me African, but hate. And the devotees who were highly literate, that is a fact, would have taken it because those are people you look up to in the community and they trusted them. They have always preached hate. They have always done that. And everything they enjoy in this country is because of the policy of a people's national movement. They changed from PDP to DLP to Club 88 to this to that, all kind of thing. But it's still another UNC, and that's why they could never stay in office more than 5 years because they're racist to the core. I say so based on the history I read it. They don't have a national intent for this country. It's only about the Indians they're interested in, and mostly so Hindus. That is a fact. It is written. So I'm saying again, people, 2025, don't be distracted by the talk about who racist because we answer back to see. Look at all the facts that is there. As Dominic said, make Google your friend. Not Google on the radio, Google on your phone and look things up. And if I am saying anything that is not true, all you're free to challenge me on it. But when you read and you understand, you could interpret and see where we were then, where we are now. And who are the people who have always been the recalcitrant minorities in this society. And recalcitrant don't mean Indian, it means obstinate. But look at the recalcitrant minorities who have been in our system since in the days of Barrister and back. And tell me if you could put that on the back of people of African descent or Syrian descent or Chinese descent. Look at the people. So when they go to vote this year, or they go and start to talk about Rowley dirt, I don't like Rowley, he didn't come the thing, and he feel that cash, and go and put them back, and see if they set me back, right back to 1845, when we will really be the house slaves, who they like to call me that, and they will be the what master on the plantation. They like to call me house slave, but you know when they want people with the dressing in the party, you know, be nice and be good, and behind the back, they all watching house slave. I heard Miss Davy call somebody on radio, and the person said, Dr. Ruland Munizal point at Jolene John and say she leave what she doing now and go and clean the toilet. She go and clean it. And I'm ending by saying that is how some of them, not all Indian people, that is how some of them of Indian descent look at African people. We used to clean the toilet. We from the bottom of the barrel. We scrub in a barrel. We don't see. We oxy. All kind of things they will say. But they don't look at their own community. Let us start the conversation. Thank you, Dominic. Have a blessed week, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Jen. Of course, Akash, they will praise Akash Samaru. Why? Because, and that's what they want. Good on. That's what they want. Somebody disrespectful, and that's what Akash does. Disrespectful. What's going on with this thing? Right. So I saw somebody put up a post, Akash, for Journalist of the Year, right? For telling the minister, well, you really feel, and what is this to me used by this monumentous, like monumentous, what the heck is that? Get this here. What's going on with this thing now? Let's see. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing. Just one more thing. I wanted to just say one thing about Akash Amaro. Despite the fact that he has been put in his place more than once by Dr. Randall at these press conferences, he comes back, he digs his heels in, and he comes back. You're going to watch a government minister look at the man in his face and ask him if with all the murders, he, the minister, does he not view that? And by the way, talking to the minister about an admittance of failure. With admittance, you're going to know? It's admission. And he's a journalist, writing column in the newspaper. You know what that is? That is racial contempt for Mr. Hines. It is racial contempt for Mr. Hines. That is what he is. That's why I'm glad that Stuart Young stopped him in his tracks and put him in his damn place. But according to Jennifer Frederick, this is what they do. They feel they have a license to insult and assault black people and say the nastiest things about us. Let us never forget that in the height of COVID, this popular journalist from the Express, Anna Ramdas, and that's a news conference. I don't know if people remember that she asked Dr. Trotman, right, who's a thoracic surgeon. She's the head of Cora Hospital that deals with chest ailments. This woman is highly qualified. Anna Ramdas asked this woman, what are your qualifications? What are your qualifications? Who the hell are you, Anna Ramdas? What are your qualifications? Except a little course here and there, a little bit, a little thing, a little bit of this, a little piece of rice, a little piece of sugar in journalism. What are your qualifications? Why did you not ask the chief health officer, what's his name, Payaswa?
Yes.
Why you didn't ask him about his qualifications? Why didn't you ask the I just forget her name, but the doctor who was married to Max Richards,
Dr. Miriam Abdul Richards.
Why didn't ask her about her qualifications? Why you single out Dr. Trotman? But that is the Express, inherent racist prejudice. That is what you all are. No apologies for saying so. And that is what is coming from the UNC, and it's coming from Rasmussen, it's coming from all of them. And I make no hesitation in saying what I'm saying today. Express, as you said, it has become like a tabloid. It's a scandal sheet. It's a scandal sheet. I mean, you're so insensitive and disrespectful. The man's brother died. He's in Tobago, commiserating with his relatives. He's going there to attend the funeral. He has delegated 2 ministers to discuss the matter of the state of emergency. And you're talking about Rowley running and Rowley hiding. That is what the sector said. He's a coward. And you, Anna Ramdas and all of you all, pick it up and run with it. So Rowley running from responsibility. He's a coward. This is what you're all doing. You all have no damn class. The man went to Tobago, his brother died. And if we recall, about a year or two ago, another brother died. Another of his brothers died. So, in addition to running the country, the man has his own, he has his plate. He has his plate is full. with family grief. You all have no damn class about yourself. Thanks, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, sir. Great. I think it was Dr. Oli, I think lost brothers last year, because I recall when he had the conversations with the Prime Minister in Tobago, his brother had died. Right? But and all of them who come in with their fake. Hold 1 second, caller. Like Philip Alexander. Oh, yeah, they offering sympathy, but hello, good afternoon.
How are you?
I am good, and yourself?
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Samaru is hoping to be Kamala's next mouthpiece. He has never one day come against his master. He's an insecure, doing it for the depths of hell. And who is Israel? I can't. A set of make-believe, want to be self-important, insecure, inferior human waste. That's all they are. Right? Where will you present question for Kamala? Like the same thing too. The same thing you condemn the government for that you did. When you open your mouth, you reveal what you are. Because they beat them up. When you plant a seed, you get back what you plant. When you curse the government, you curse yourself. It's when these shoe squeeze that corner theirs, they're devoted forever. Because you're hateful. Kamala Bagay, she wanted SOE, right? He failed. Kamala, under your tenureship, there was 2 prison breaks. Who died? Prison, police, we get many hospitals, Kamala. Mesita Hall, Kamala. Who did PM when she died? We have the goon and Anna the goon, right? Put them in jail without charge. The same double tongue, demonic hypocrite from the depths of hell, swing government. Why? It's not about law, it's about money. And I hope when they get what they get, they take it to know. Because dumb is coming down. Went through some things a while ago before I left the country. It came to pass, eh? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, yes.
And you mentioned something about ILP. Went through it before you left the country, ILP. And you said it, right? I wasn't there with the conversation. Father, even now, in the name of Jesus Christ, the first day of 2025, Lord God, I bless the government. I bless John and every member on the line. I speak great health, length of days, spiritual, physical, financial, mental, and emotional prosperity, oh Lord God, from the beginning to the end of this month, to them and their loved ones, oh Lord God. Cause your kingdom to come and your will be done. Just name and done. I'll call you for some this tomorrow sometime.
Okay.
Because I'm so guilty.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, Dominic, good afternoon.
Hey, boss. Hi, good man.
Well, I don't know if you remember Dr. Rowley had was to pull up Asha,
Akash?
At a meeting when he on his phone and receiving calls from whoever it is I want to believe is the opposition and asking a lot of stupid questions. And Dr. Rowley had to tell him about it.
Yep.
I mean, a serious press conference and he did the kind of nonsense this man carrying on with. On top of that, I mean, he's asking Fitzgerald that dotage question. It is public knowledge that Fitzgerald Science is not going to have to be elected again. So it's a waste of time asking that dotage question. But however, it is a potent question to ask Kamala Prasad-Bissessar. The same, you don't have to do change your word or nothing of this. Put that towards Kamala Prasad-Bissessar. What is Kamala's track record? Kamala Prasad-Bissessar kept a SOE that she locked up people and they all have to be released by the court. It did nothing to curb crime. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar came in immediately, scrapped the apparatus in the national security. She sold the OPVs, the blimp, and put Rishmi Ramnarayan to get our national security apparatus. You know. I mean, and Prakash Ali called us that question, and these people and them who think and calling Prakash some kind of superhero had to be super dumb. Because it's what he has made you really do that. There's nothing that he do anything. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar is still there in our parliament. She still block serious laws that they're doing for the same thing to help fight crime. She block it. She frustrates the whole system. It reflects back on the people. She harbor people who's charged and before the court. Right? You have people under you fight, went to the Privy Council to make sure that murderers get bail. But you always so concerned about the crime and the murders. Always concerned about no crime and murders. All only concerned about put Kamala right back there and then sit down and watch Strata go boom. Because I tell you again, based on Kamala Prasad-Bissessar's track record, when she gets back there, you have a lot of them she had to help, you know. So it's more Section 34 and all kind of madness she could not do, you know. And a matter of fact, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, I don't ever know that she faces anybody to answer any question, one-on-one. She does a lot of things, and somebody with a 2 10 pigeon feet for long, and she never faces the music and answer questions when she disappears for some months and you can't find her, and all of a sudden she disappears. We don't know what's going on with Kamala Prasad-Bissessar. She's going to come back there, she's going to start back using the helicopter, and she'll continue as she is doing now, the 5-day weekend woman. But they're promoting that. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar was in this mess today. And we can't hide that. She had a part, she played a significant part in this thing by scrapping the national security apparatus. If we had those vessels that Patrick Manning had ordered, we would have been a better place. A matter of fact, look at live sport. Monies from the government coffers went into criminal guns. It had a lot of murders and all these things. What do you think going on when she did these things? She sowed the seed and we reaping it today. This is what Kamala Prasad-Bissessar did. But she sits there and she's waiting to come back to be prime minister and all these other people that you think this woman from the electoral from UE and the small parties, Philip Alexander, the Cosbud, who was lost in a lawsuit for cussing somebody or saying something that is untrue about people. She just circling herself around them just to get in power and to come in back as prime minister again and be suffering again. She make war with president of Venezuela. I don't know how she's going to cope with him and how the Jagan Gal deal will continue flowing. What relationship she have with the man and if she gets back. Because as far as I understand, I haven't heard her rebuke the state or change her mind on it. She doesn't recognize Maduro as the Venezuelan president. So I don't know who she's going to put up before and call Venezuela if anything has happened. You know, and these are some of the things we have to look at. And when these people then come in here and try to make a big sort of issue on serious matters of national security, and Akash Samru could just come out with a dotish question, I would have put him out. That is a stupid question to answer that press conference. But you see the minds of some stupid people, they ain't see the consequences of the SOE to find out questions like if people's rights, how much of the rights going to be affected, if it's going to have a curfew. And so many questions you expected these people to answer. I guess talking about the Minister of National Security, and if you could step down because crime is high. That is not the time and place for that stupid question. You're talking, they are the mouthpieces for the public. So you ask the question because those are the people invited to the press conference. The press conference was about the SOE that they called. Ask questions, stick to those things. Ask the question concerning that because people at the time everybody was shocked. I gave the morning and hearing about it and I was thinking, nah, that's a lie. Until I heard about the press conference and those things. So I needed to hear what is going on. I needed to get information. I needed, and I couldn't go to the press conference and personally ask the ministers and them questions. That is the job of these journalists. And Prakash to ask that stupid question that has nothing to do with the issue at hand and what is called, and that I think that people applauded and did something else wrong with our society. Boy, Dominic, boy. Well, continue, Dominic, because it's out to you in 2025, boy. I know what will take because we need the information and bring it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Well said. And all we're talking about bring back Gary. Remember, there was a probe that was done by retired Justice Stanley John that spoke to the issue of a well-oiled criminal enterprise. You know where that police still investigating? Just ask him. Going on with that, there were about 4 probes into the issuance of firearm users licenses under Mr. Griffith's tenure. Let us not forget that. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Dominic. How are you?
I am good, man.
Welcome back, Dominic. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Hello?
Yes, sir, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
All right, man. I'm wishing everybody a happy new year.
Same to you.
2025, and I'm just trying to tell the citizens, trying to be good, just keep positive. Well, Dominic, boy, I don't know where to start. How much issues we have to talk about? And how this would affect us when we come 2025.
Yep.
Right? But I just want to tell the right thinking citizens of this country, be very vigilant. Be aware of the trickery, the tomfoolery, because this is silly season. Right? Election is around the corner. And we had to connect the dots and see what's going on in this country. Right? Right now, there's a big issue going on, but right now, people saying that some document was leaked before the state of emergency. I guess you're aware of that one, right?
No, I haven't.
Dominic?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, so I just want to try and just be very vigilant. And just be very careful. Right? So you have a good day, Dominic.
Thank you. I see this publication that goes by the name of DJ Sheriff. So he apparently, so there are some, well, disagreements with respect to the actual murder figures for last year, because this DJ Sheriff has been keeping a record supposedly of all of the murders that took place, and his figures differ markedly from that of the official statistics published by the police by at least 20-something murders. But the bacchanalists, of course, will go with what he has. And I see, so he's already started for 2025. So I see he's already recorded 2, claiming that there are 2 murders so far for the year. And there are those who would take, it's unfortunate, those who would take pleasure in seeing that. They say, yes, state emergency and murders still going on and thing, and the year now start and 2 murders already and all of that. Meanwhile, in New Orleans, a man drove into a crowd that was celebrating the New Year, killed 10 and injured 30. One man killed 10 people, drive into a crowd, killed 10 and injured 30. How many of those 30 will possibly succumb to the injuries? We don't know. But we don't see things like that happening in Trinidad. We don't hear about that sort of thing happening. So when I see these people who talk about, oh, Trinidad, this and I looking to get out and I'm going to go to places, run to the US where these things happen, where this is a common occurrence. That you could be outside, because I'm sure all over Trinidad last night, you had people on the street who were celebrating and whatnot and stuff. And there were no such incidents, right? But 10 people were happy to ring in the new year. They make it out, 2024, they make it into 2025, and then what? That's it. There are no more footnotes in history. 10 for now. Okay. But you're all so concerned and this and whatnot. What you contributing, what you doing to assist the crime situation? I'm not reading a piece of nonsense here from one of them from the TPP party talking foolishness about poverty is the reason for crime. Miss me with that nonsense. Miss me with that nonsense, because guns are not free. And when we see the type of high-powered guns that these guys using to commit the crimes, how they get in it? If they're poor and they're suffering, where they getting the money from to buy these high-powered guns? Where they getting it from? We don't make guns here. We don't. So where they getting it? Again, my former colleague who was killed yesterday, Randall Hector, they said one vehicle was a SUV. Poverty? Really? You're poor? You turn a life of crime and you're driving SUV? And there's 2 vehicles. Where are you getting these vehicles from to commit these crimes? You shooting on Besseau Street. Well planned. They had 1 vehicle close to Besseau Street when the fellas jump out, and then they had 1 waiting for them down on South Key. That is what was reported. Where they get money to buy vehicles and access to vehicles and all of these guns? I ask him, so when you want to come and tell me this nonsense about this poverty, and it's poverty that caused them the crime. Miss me with that. These guys are not interested in any legitimate work. And we keep making that point. They're not interested in legitimate work. They're not interested in no 8 to 4, where somebody dictating the pace and telling them what they have to do for at least 7 out of 8 hours for the day. They're not interested in that. So miss us with that foolishness. If you could kill a man and get paid for that, and the amount of money that you're making, I recall one of the videos I was looking for that Christmas List made when he went up to Laventille and he was interviewing a young man. This guy have a big chain around his neck. And what they call this slave band or whatever it is. Christmas List asked him how much for that. He said, this is $90,000. And the band, $50,000. And he said, we working hard for we money to be able to buy everything, and the police come in and distressing we. You spend $140,000 on 2 pieces of jewelry? Where you getting that money from? Some people who working in public service and all kind of thing, even in the private sector, are making that money for the year, and they're working 40 hours plus a week. You have security guards, security officers working how many hours for the week? Some of them working 24-hour shift and all of that, and they're making that money. And you could afford to spend $140,000 for a chain around your neck and a band on your hand, and talking about all you're working hard for all your money and the police come into distress all that? Really? What work you doing? What work you really doing? So when they want to come and talk stupidness about it's poverty that causing the crime and poverty causing the crime. Listen, government has more than enough opportunities in place, legitimate opportunities. You want to start, you don't want to work for anybody and you want to start a business, they have things in place for that. Funding to start your business, and they're giving you the training and the technical assistance to be able to run your business. You're interested in a business that involves export, the Ministry of Trade and Industry have things in place for that. Republic Bank has things in place for that. Republic Bank giving loans up to $100,000, and they're giving you a 2-week training, and they're assisting you. So there are ample opportunities for people. If you don't want to work for anybody and you want to work for yourself, you could go out there and make it. The Venezuelans coming here working hard 10, 20 of them sleeping in one apartment, working, saving the money, and then starting business. But all who live in here since Jesus was in Pampas, complaining about this surviving, there are no opportunities in the country, and people had to look. Miss me with that, eh? Miss me with that. It's poverty. See, that's the convenient cop-out. That's why I keep saying, some of these parents is all to blame. All to blame. Because when your daughter is 16 years old, she going to school, you must know your daughter movements. And when she come home and she tell you that she's pregnant, how that happen? How that happen? But you see, you could empathize because you're in the same situation, because you had her when you were 16. And the cycle continues. So now she's pregnant at 16. What are you going to do? Because she come and tell you too late. No, you ain't going on the road of abortion, so she have the child. And by the time she's 21, she have 4. Or 3 different men. Right? And the cycle continues. When she reached 32, 34, same thing again. She's a grandmother. All of these things. So it's not just the men we had to blame. You had to blame the women too. Right? Yes, the men going out and committing the crime. But when you see that miscreant coming around your daughter, you're supposed to let her know what time it is. Yeah, but I try. I have a friend. That situation. Your 16-year-old daughter. You ask her, you having sex? Yes. And she tell you, bold face, because she ain't get her. Because you're not disciplining her. What she do? You take her to the police station to make a report. So in case she get pregnant, and then you have to go to the hospital for her to make the child, and they call the police, you can say, well, it's on record, no, because I took her to the police station and I report. She didn't want to say who's the man she with and whatnot, but the thing there, the report there, so they can't tell me nothing because I try to stop her. Really? You try to cover your own backside because you know that coming. Did you sit and have a conversation with her? You have anybody sit down and have a conversation with her and tell her, well, look, I make the same mistake and I don't want you to make it, and have that conversation. But you take it in front. So when the belly come, you in the clear. And then you have 4 grandchildren to mind. When you could have stopped that. And every time, enablers, and the cycle continues. At 21, 22 years old with 4 children, what's she going to do? No passes, no skills. So she had to look for a low-paying menial job, and none of the men that she had the children with want to support the child because they figure all they're supposed to be doing is going all over the place and impregnating people girl child. And I'm a child mother, I'm a child mother, I'm a child mother, and I'm a baby daddy. And all they're proud to say that's stupidness. And when you can't mind, that's like Kizella, they say she never tell Oli to go and open all her leg and make no set of children. And the cycle continues. Right? You proud to say your man is a shooter. My man had gun. Really? That's anything to be proud of? Eric?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon to you, my brother, Mr. Romain. Good afternoon to the listeners and the callers. Let me take this opportunity to wish you and yours a blessed 2025, as well as the followers and listeners of this program. All right? Now, I heard a lot of speculations that took place since the initiation of this SOE, right? Because many thought that this SOE would have been like the saga which should have took place some 11 years ago, right? They said that it would have had a curfew, because I saw a video that some woman come up and make some fake posts and say how it have lockdown in distant areas, and mind you, she put the areas as the PNM areas between 9 to 5, but I didn't hear that from the Minister of National Security nor the acting AG, Minister Youngs. I didn't hear that, so I don't know where she get that misinformation from. But then again, that is typical UNC styling. Anything they could use and weaponize, they will do it for political mileage.
Correct.
Right? This next one, right? This Akash, oh shit, sorry, Jackass, oh sorry, shit, Akash, Akash, sorry, Axias, oh sorry, Samaru. Right? You as a journalist who representing a media house, that kind of rhetoric
BSO asked, with the Prime Minister, Minister Young, Minister Hines, Minister Gavidali, who have you? They could have a press conference without the Prime Minister being there. Unlike the UNC, who cannot have a press conference without the their leader, who was going to be propped up, right? Every single time to be propped up, to come and talk foolishness and nothing of substance, right? Now, the year now starts, today is the first day of the year, right? And I got to understand, it has $2 would have took place already, right? So, some of them now thinking, they start all up in their arms. So what good is SOE will do? What good? I don't know why, you see, Dominic, Trinidadian and Tobagonian people doesn't know what the hell they want.
Nope.
You understand? They don't know what they want because you cannot tell me, okay, the SOE was initiated some 48 hours ago. Okay, no problem. Give the plan some time to flourish, and based on the outcome, we will decide, hey, plan A didn't work, so we'll go to plan B. That is how things does go. But we have a cross-section of the population in this country who are dealing with the lawyers, who are rubbing shoulders with the opposition, and the media who are rubbing shoulders with the opposition, want to paint this SOE as some political gimmickry. Like they forget when the same godly opposition leader, the old Separia Jagabat, and she will continue that, I will give her that name, going into the election, the old Separia Jagabat, right, who initiated that SOE without any proper initiative, right, because you felt in your mind and in your psyche, lying down in your bed in your pink palace, that it's okay to call a limited SOE, right, in certain areas in the country, which is deemed as crime hotspot, that is predominantly PNM areas, because if you had already looked, right, all the areas that she would have called the SOE was where it's predominantly African-based areas, while the East-West corridor was under duress. The UNC held constituencies were free to roam. They were free to roam all about between that period. And I want the opposition leader and her cronies to tell us what was the real reason you all call her SOE. Because since that period, I didn't see no change in the behavior of the citizens. So all they put a wool over my eye and coming now, some 11 years later, to tell me Olewa SOE, and then when they get it now, it's for political gimmickry. Kamla, Pushwati, Zamwati, Posad, Bisesa. Right? When you're talking your rhetoric, and when you're highly intoxicated with the goose that flying all about the place, I want to come and talk foolishness on the media, right? And the media like Akas or Axias or whatever his name is, Samaru, who want to be your mascot and the Anaromdas and the overshit, all of them want to come and talk a sort of foolishness on your behalf. Be careful, I always say, you can fool people some of the time, but you cannot fool people all the time, Gamla. You cannot fool Trinidad and Tobago, because if you feel that by harping on crime and murder statistics in our country to get you to office, you have a next thing coming. You understand? You have a next thing coming, and the year now starts. So it's real fire for you and your position. And I will take on Philip Alexander. That's what I want. I want it to come from me. That's what I want. Philip Edward Alexander, I want you to come from me. Right now, all of you go fight manos y manos. I have balls. I don't know what you have, because clearly cannot take off yours and put in a jar with some to preserve in the next 10 months when the election call. So you right now, you're on that camera dress inhaling the political fumes. That's why you cannot present to come and talk this foolishness. You understand? But then again, the UNC does incorporate these kind of characters under them because all of them is the same caliber. Right? So it's nothing expected under the UNC coming forward from now on. But we'll be like Mapapi waiting for you. All you come. Yeah, so double before I go. Last night I would have viewed News Source live last night. And something, many persons would have called me yesterday. Last night they called me. Right? And they tell me, they say, go to the Grab live thing. I say, all right thing. Dominic, it have certain elements that needs to be flushed out in that party. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Certain elements in the People's National Movement needs to be flushed out. Right? They need to be flushed out. I say it's no more. I know Dr. Ron is capable of dealing with these matters, but it have certain people is alleged, giving information to people. That is all I have to say. So we need to be careful because all of this could hamper the chances and all the hard work that people like you, Jenny, John and John, Sharon, Google, Bruce, all the callers, Mr. Chan, Mr. Yates, will go intervene. So we have to deal with that. Don't let that flourish because it's going to get out of hand and then you'll be too late. So we need to get to the point of that and flush out those big bad seeds within the party. But with that being said and done, Dominic, good program as usual, and we have a very long 365 days to go. Good program.
Thank you. Let me see here. It's time now. Right. Probably take one or two more quick ones. Let me see if we have here. Hello, good afternoon. Hello? Okay, don't know what happened then. I ain't hear from Leave It there now. I wonder if you're alright. Not that I calling for him, but I ain't hear from him in a while, you know. When mischief and show up for a little bit. But then again you say, anyway, I'm gonna leave that there. What pleased the minister? So I'm gonna get it here. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dominic.
Hi, Carol.
Good New Year to you and all your fellow listeners.
Same to you.
Yes, as the last caller was saying, we have a long road to go. What I would like to ask some of the callers, like Mr. Chan, Saeed, Jenny, Brian, all these, we have people who ask, as I did, let me give myself a little back, frequently ask questions. Remember, I did a list of things that the PNM have done for the last 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe help. Some people did write, send to me different things that I left out. Well, I don't want to call it his name. S-Styles also did it in a better format for me.
Right.
That being said, what I would like some of callers to do who, well, I should say more educated than I am, right? Some of these questions that frequently ask, like, you know, this stupid question of why he should have appointed French Prince.
Mm-hmm.
The pitch lake that was sold. You keep went to these diversification. What the government is about that? We have, let's say, how should I put it? A note, a composition, an essay, whatever, on these frequently asked questions. So when upon some of these Facebook, social media, you could just take it and send it to them as I do with sometimes people are saying, I do nothing, and I would just take that listing and just post it without saying anything more.
Right.
if we can do these things, we ask questions and send it to people, because they keep getting the same thing over and over. You know, that's what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we could get that done because we have a hard fight.
Correct.
When I see some of these people who I would think supposed to be educated and they want to ask the young people say big up summer, like, I first have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you ask ask them, listen, could we go back to UNC and ask them to pull back that bail for murderers? Or also when you return, why is she still there? Ask questions. No, you're coming to ask foolish. And then you see, and you could tell the people who are in yellow, oh yes, again, that's foolishness. We need to do that answer questions. When people ask these things, we ask questions, just post it to them. So calling out people like Jenny, Brian, all these people who can do these topics better than I could. If you could do that, please.
Yes.
But that could start the fight and show people what been done, you know? Okay.
I saw you posted it in one of the group on I saw you posted the list on a group, the TPP thing, and I saw one of them try to insult you.
Oh yes. That it was a waste of a waste of letters.
And also they see our PNM thing post up a list but the PNM couldn't do nothing to save Lisa Morris Julian and her children. They're so low and crass and dirty.
Yes, foolishness of them. So, you know, it's just you just have to just what them and laugh at this. So that challenge there to from little higher. Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Have a good day. Good program as usual.
Thank you so much. You know, some of you guys who support the UNC, y'all need to familiarize yourself with what is the role and function of a minister. Yeah? Just say it. I see here, Josodra is back. She said, what place the minister have to fix crime? Only talking nonsense, no plan. What is the UNC's plan, Josodra? What is Kamala's plan? What is Kamala's plan? Tell us now. How she plan to fix crime? You know what she plan to do? You'll put her back in office, and for 5 years, when it is that she can't control the crime statistics, when it is the murders continue unabated, and all she does is provide the firearm users licenses, and you realize, but that ain't working either. Because understand, when you're saying the solution is to give law-abiding citizens firearm users licenses, you know what you're telling them? Hear what? We can't stop the home invasions. We can't stop the murders. So the best we could do is to give all your gun, arm all yourself, so that when the miscreants come, you have a fighting chance. So don't expect to see any reduction in crime that you don't need a gun. That making any sense? But all you're complaining, all you're suffering, and you can't buy food, and the cost of living so high, and this and that. Where you getting the money from to buy the gun? Gun ain't cheap. You can't go buy Price Smart or Massey and pick up a gun on the shelf. It don't work so. Right? Gun is not $200 and $300. Just so dry. So how is the FUL going to help you if all you're suffering and complaining, all you're struggling? Where the money coming from to buy the gun, to protect yourself? No solutions whatsoever. They contributed to the crime being what, but all you will never hold them to book and to account for going to the court and overturning murder as a non-bailable offense. How many of these persons who committed murders now are out on bail for murder? You know, you suppose that is a good thing, because suppose the person innocent and the police like to frame people, and suppose they frame somebody for murder. How often have you heard that taking place? But as you stupidness all you're coming with and trying to defend that nonsense, when this person should be behind bars, when it is that they want the government was seeking to extend the bail amendment bill and so on, so that you could keep some of these persons who, and the Attorney General begged, he said, listen, we're not looking for the first-time offenders. It's the repeat offenders who have several cases before the courts, who have shown themselves to be unrepentant, so that when they get catch with a gun, no bail for 180 days. Well, they come and say, and the UNC didn't want to vote for it. That's a good thing, because the police did the thing, and then next thing they like to set up people, and suppose they're innocent. But what about the guilty ones? But it's until it happened to all here and they kill one all your family member, then all of a sudden, all they don't care. Bring back the hangman and pop their neck. Miss me with that nonsense. Leon, folly and foolishness. Because when they cannot defend the indefensible, same people always gonna what the government need to do more, and the government need to do more. And when they need to do more now, when they're doing more and the UNC refuse to give them the support, well, they come in to try to defend foolishness. But I bet if it had been PNM lawyers who had gone to court and gotten the court to overturn murder as a non-bailable offense, well, they would have been singing a different tune. Yeah, you see, it's because they own people who just be committing the murders in Lavantil and Silas, and that's why they do that. So all of the people, all the PNM supporters and them could get bail for murder. That's what they would have been saying. But the UNC did it, and yeah, no, that's a good thing because they have innocent people, and they gonna lock up the innocent people. Something wrong. You all are the problem. And the problem is you all have the right to vote. You all have a right to vote. Right? So we expect to hear for 5 years, well, we can't deal with the crime situation because the PNM mess up the country and Rowley and them do this and Rowley and them do that. So for 5 years, we hear blame Rowley, blame the PNM, blame the PNM. The country is too far gone. And because Rowley and them didn't do what they were supposed to do in the 10 years that they were there, and they caused the crime situation to reach where it is now, we're going to take 10 years for us to fix the crime situation. No, if all they say, all they have the answers, no, fix it. Rubbish. We called her the other day from the Martin, tell me, don't let them send up my blood pressure. Yeah? But anyway, what's the time now? I'm going to take this quick call there. Hello, good afternoon. Yes, sir.
I'm noticing something coming up soon. There's a lawyer for the people who have been held for the Dana Sitahal murder. He is claiming that 10 years has passed and the case hasn't started, and that there's a term in the law that would allow them to get off because of the system, right? And how long it's staying. I'm waiting to see what will come out of that, because they see too. I also looking at the SOE and how it's going to impact on criminality. Now, based on what I heard from Stuart Young, it sounds good compared to what Kamlan and DAG Anand did, because what they're doing is they're using the SOE where that some of your rights are suspended, so they can go to places with all these lawyers and them coming in and stopping police from doing the work. In other words, they may have information about a house situated in a certain place, and it has item X, item B, and item C that is illegal. But to access a search warrant, they will get held together. And that like as people have a certain level. If it's people on the ground level, you know, the police must get that easy and go on the thing, and then there's always here the police too wicked and all kind of thing. But they don't talk about the fellas and them is known to the police and known to the area, known to everybody. And they're doing their thing there, but they don't want to be searched. All that will be, suspended under the law. So I listened to Randall Murilal saying that, talking about police victimizing people, the whole police, and they notice all of them coming out a little easy and making that for one particular statement that the police don't victimize people. But Murilal went one step further and squeezing political victimization. Now I want to ask Murilal that not everybody is UNC and not everybody dotish. Because if you're going after white-collar criminals, you have to apply the law across the board. So if they can run into the gangster house and search it up, looking for the guns and ammunition, they could also run into the white-collar criminals' houses and look for the vaults with the money in it. And then we apply the law of explain your wealth and follow the money. So when they follow the money into the vault, into your house, wherever you hide it in secret compartments, they can now ask you to explain your wealth, because that too is crime. And these things fuel crime. You see, like when an MP could tell another MP in the parliament, sneak a lead for you, And then he entertained them at the Hyatt. They call it come to man, drink all you want, I go pay the bill, and then they start to get on to the people and them downstairs. Well, call the MP because I think I pay for nothing and rabble rousing in the people place. The MP had to come and settle it down and hey fellas, so they cool it down. And who is the guys? The little gangsters and them on the street. So the people from on top who's stealing from EMBD and all these things with this contract and the thing, I don't want to get a thing done. They hire these little fellas and them, these punks and them to do the dirty work. And when they get them punks and them money, what they going to buy with it? Not food. So when they tell me the people are hungry and have nothing to eat, that this government is suffering the people and we catching we tail on this government, all kind of nonsense. You have people sitting in the parliament fueling the crimes of these guys, giving them money, and when they get the money, they're buying best of the weapons. The choice of weapons for the gangster now is AR rifles. Right? So that is how the crime is fueled, and that is why we're in this situation today. Because when you add what we saw happen with live sports and all these other ghost gangs and contracts given to gangsters to build police station and all kind of things, when the president will get money, the president will not feed the district is, or they call them now, there's committee leaders. They're going to buy a set of a container food, open a grocery, and sell the food cheap to the people in the area. They're not doing that. You're buying a brand new AR. I'm going to tell you a brand new AR is about $80,000. And then you had to buy ammunition for that. That's the next story. Got them further than using the ammunition as that, like there's no tomorrow. Like you have a what? They have a pitch lake of ammunition. As soon as they take out more, that is what I understood. The SOE is about. That's why they didn't bother to use a curfew, because they're targeting the people on the radar. They're going after them, but there are people in high society being protected because the law doesn't apply across the board to every citizen in this country. While some people cases could stay for years, the other people that go through the thing there and sit down in the jail, whether they can't come out because they have no money to get bail, or they call a case, you ain't getting a proper representation and you have to make a jail. So the better thing to do if you know you're guilty, plead guilty early again, serve your time and come back out and don't do it again. Simple as that. But with the white collar criminals, the Ishes and the Steves and the Anand Ramlogan and all of them, they know how to play the game in the court. So they'll run it straight to the people concerned a stupid matter that they know that makes no sense and they will lose before the case starts, and then find some place to choke their game before the case starts again. We could call it preliminary hearing and all kind of rubbish that go through. You know? So this is what Akash, what your name is, Prakash, Akash, whatever I better call him. This is the kind of question he's supposed to be posing to the National Security Minister. I mean, I'm doing a better job than him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So Josodra, who supports the UNC here, she said, when Kamala come back into power, we will see what her plan is. So in other words, vote for Kattenbag. And Josodra, yeah. What's your plan? Well, when I come, vote for man, put me back in office, and when I come in, you will see what my plan is. Oh, that's how it's supposed to work. Oh, okay. Just like when she said, vote for me, and I will give you all, I will make it $3,000 pension for everybody at age 60. Right? Once you reach age 60, you just go to the social welfare office and you're getting $3,000 pension. And then afterwards, what she said? It was a misprint. But night after night, they were coming on the platform, speaker after speaker talking that. Speaker after speaker talking that night after night. It was a misprint and I misspeak too. I'll take 2 more and then I'm done. Let's see. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Dominic!
Oh, Lord, Father. I take blame for that. I take blame for that.
Look here, boy.
Yeah.
I went to be with the daughters. Came back today.
I feel like you hear me
Happy
mention
New
your
Year,
name
my
earlier.
friend.
Same to you, sir.
And all the best for the new year.
And to you too. I hope you
My
change.
sister
I hope you
now
change your
called me and
ways.
tell me, so you know Dominic on? I said, I don't know. I went on the page at CMD, but when I watch the time, I said, nah, Dominic on. She said, yes, Dominic on.
I hope you change your ways for 25.
I say, as well, let me see if I can make a call.
Oh, Lord. Change your ways, sir.
Hey, Dominic.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Dominic.
Yes, sir.
So you hear in the news yesterday, they shoot a lawyer in front of the wife and children?
Yes, I mentioned that was my former school colleague from St. Mary's
You
College.
heard it?
Yes, I know him.
You know him?
We went to St. Mary's College together for 7 years, yes.
Come, my daughters asked me if I know him. I said, no, I don't know the person. Shoot the man in front of the wife and children. Dominic, I take notes, you know.
Take notes.
Where Jenny?
Change your ways.
Jenny called and vexed with me yesterday because I tell Bruce, as they call this state of emergency, the police went and break down a woman's door. Because she didn't care about that. They want to say the door cost $400. I tell Bruce, who paying for that? I say, you go hear stories, you know, Bruce. You go hear stories. Jenny called, she vexed. All right. Well, you go hear stories, you know. Dominic, I will leave it there for now. You coming out tomorrow?
No.
I will look for you.
All right.
I'll leave it there.
All right. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Hello.
Hey, Dominic, how you doing, man? This is Winston Basu.
Greetings.
I just called in to say, man, I enjoy your show very much, man. You have a great show.
Thank you.
But I also think that you're practicing selective bias, man.
Is that right?
I have two questions for you. I'll keep it simple.
All right.
Some weeks ago, you said Kamala closed down the aluminum factory.
She canceled it.
Yeah, canceled. How can you cancel something that wasn't open?
How can you what?
So close down something that wasn't open.
No.
That's one question.
All right.
Wait, that's one question. I have another question for you.
Right.
Why are you supporting Hines? The man failed. He's a failure.
All right, let me ask you a question. What is the responsibility of a Minister of National Security? What is his job? What is he supposed to do?
He's supposed to, as far as I know, he's supposed to create policies to fight crime, to protect the country and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Did you hear me read what Gary Griffith said in 2013 when he was Minister of National Security, that he is not about creating crime plans and so on to create quick fixes? You heard me read that early on?
I haven't read the article. No, I haven't read the article.
Right.
But I know that you're a man of statistics.
Okay.
And if you go by your own statistics, you'll know that Hines has failed.
Really? Based on what?
Because the crime statistics has risen under his watch.
What is the responsibility of the police service?
The same policies that he's supposed to create to drive down the crime rate has risen under his watch.
And you create, I like the word you use there, policy. Who is supposed to enact the policy?
So,
who is supposed to enact the policy?
He's cracking up, man. I can't hear you.
Who is supposed to enact policy? The minister, as you said, he's supposed to create policy. Who is supposed to enact the policy? Not the public servants, not the police service and the defense force and so on?
Yes.
So if they don't do their job,
with the national security minister,
the minister is responsible for policy. If the minister could pick up the phone and call the commissioner of police and give instructions to the commissioner, can he not tell the commissioner, go and lock up members of the opposition?
I'm sorry, man, you're cracking up. I can't.
I am saying, if you are implying that the minister can instruct the police service, can he not pick up the phone and call the commissioner of police and tell her to go and lock up members of the opposition?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You're cracking up really bad. I'll have to call back.
All right.
You're cracking up.
All right, no problem.
I'm sorry, but I can't hear you. But
All right.
That was my question. If you can hear me, that was my question.
All right, I'll answer you. So let me answer the first question with respect to the smelter plant. The PNM under Mr. Manning had started the smelter plant. The project was in the early stages. All right. The site was being prepared to construct the aluminum smelter plant. The contracts was in place with the Chinese. All of the equipment and everything that needed to be purchased was already purchased. Right? These things were in train. This contract was signed, Alutrint and whatnot and so on. The UNC in 2010 told the population that the smelter plant would cause cancer and kill you. You will get cancer and dead. When they came into office, you know what they did? They canceled all the things that were already in train. So, Winston, right? So the contract that the PNM signed with the Chinese, the UNC canceled it, right? So all of those things. And that is why when this administration came back into office in 2015, they had to face now lawsuits. Well, not lawsuits, claims from the Chinese who say, well, look, we signed a contract, things was in place. We already started to put things in place. We invested our money. The site was already being prepared. Kamala Prasad Bisesa said, don't worry. The site won't go to waste. We will build a shipbuilding facility on the site. That never happened. Never happened. So when you're asking how we could shut down something or how we could cancel something that wasn't in place or that wasn't operating, you don't snap your finger overnight, Winston, and the plant is built. All right? The process that was leading to it. So if it is Mr. Manning didn't call the election in 2010 and he had stayed there until 2012 and had resisted the UNC and the nonsense, by the end of 2012, it's quite possible that the smelter plant would have been constructed. But it was in the early phases of construction when the UNC came in and changed policy and say, here what? In the same way, the PNM spend the money to build the OPVs and Kamala come in and say the OPV are making sense and they cancel the contract. And then the BAE that was building the OPVs ended up selling it to the Brazilians. That is how it has happened. New government come in and say, this is our policy. So we canceling it. That is how it works. Right? That is how the smelter plant does not exist today because the UNC canceled it. They stopped the construction. They said that is not government policy. And this administration now has to be negotiating, and I think is still negotiating with the Chinese to avoid having to pay over $1 billion TT in restitution to the Chinese for the money that they spent with respect to that project. And then the second question that you asked with Mr. Hines being a failure, and I asked you, what is the role and responsibility of a Minister of National Security? What is the minister supposed to do? When I was on 91.9, Sharon and I did an interview very early when Marvin Gonzalez became Minister of Public Utilities. And I asked Marvin, I said, what is the role and responsibility of a minister? And he said, policy. And he made the point to say that contrary to popular belief that the minister could pick up the phone and call an entity or the head of an entity under him and give instructions, that you could get, the minister could make a jail for that. All right? So when cabinet makes policy, it is for them to articulate that policy to the police services. This is what we want. This is what cabinet would like to do. Right. National Security Council, the Commissioner of Police is there, the head of the Defense Force is there, and they discuss and they say, this is what we need to achieve. These are the KPIs and whatnot and so on. So the government articulates policy. It is now for the head of these entities to go there and to marshal their charges as to how we're going to do this. So the Commissioner of Police is supposed to sit down with her executive and all of her divisional heads and say, this is what cabinet wants to achieve. How are we going to do this? The Minister of National Security can't pick up the phone and tell Ula, I need you to do this. Go and lock up this person. Deploy officers here. Right? Because the minute he could dictate the pace of the Commissioner of Police, the opposition could come and say that the police service is a puppet of the minister. So the minister could give instructions and tell the commissioner, go and lock up Monilal, go and lock up Kamla, go and lock up this one. You can't do that. The minister can't pick up the phone and tell the chief of defense staff where to deploy his officers. He cannot do that. He does not have that responsibility. Because the minute he could exercise that responsibility, it means he could instruct them to do whatever. And then these things become political tools. That is why the minister cannot dictate the pace of any of these institutions. He can't pick up the phone and call the comptroller of customs and tell her, go and do this and do that. All they can do is to articulate government policy. And it is left to the heads of these institutions to now marshal the forces so that, and you know what's dishonest with you guys? When Gary Griffith was commissioner of police, and there seemed to be some measure of success, and the police, people had confidence in the police service because they saw seemingly a reduction in crime and so on. Ole was only giving credit to Gary. Nobody was saying, well done, Fitzgerald Hines. Nobody was saying, well done, Stuart Young, because Gary Griffith served under 2 ministers of national security. And he takes full credit for all of the successes that the police service enjoyed while he was commissioner of police. Never once did he say, well, we accomplished this because the minister said to do this, or we accomplished that because the minister said to do that. He took credit for everything and every perceived success of the police service. Gary Griffith took 150% credit for. And you citizens who supported him did the same thing. None of you all ever said it's because of Fitzgerald Hines and it's because of Stuart Young that Gary Griffith was able to achieve X, Y, and Z. You all never said it's because of Keith Rowley. You gave no credit to the prime minister, no credit to the minister when it was perceived that the police was performing in the way that you wanted. But now that the police not performing in the way that you want, we bypass the commissioner and we want to blame the minister and blame the prime minister and take the commissioner out of it. Now, if you already be attacking the commissioner and whatnot. But if you want to say that Gary Griffith did such a great job, then essentially what Gary Griffith would have shown, it is possible for the TTPS to bring crime under control without any interventions from the political directorate, save and except the minister is supposed to ensure if the police service needs guns, he gets it. If they need vehicles, they get it. If they need money for overtime, they get it. Whatever it is that they need, the minister is supposed to go to cabinet and source the money for them. If they want to put any sort of thing in place, but it may require infringement of persons' constitutional rights, the commissioner of police cannot do that unless the law is adjusted. So the minister has to take a note to cabinet, speak with his cabinet colleague, who is the attorney general, who will then say, well, okay, this is what we need to do. These are the laws that we need to change or amend in order to be able to facilitate this request from the police. But it is for the police. That is their job. Hines can't lock up nobody. Hines is an ex-police officer, so he understands. You feel if a crime takes place and Hines going on the road and he see a crime taking place, he could jump out his van and say, hey, you lock up. He had to pick up the phone and call the same police to tell them, look, something happening here and they have to come. He can't do that as Minister of National Security. And this is the thing that you all fail to understand. So that is why I read that piece before where Gary Griffith said that this demand from the population for crime plan from the minister, he not about that. He said that is what was done in the past. He not doing that. These quick fixes, putting a plaster on us so when you come up with that crime plan to fool people. His words. He's not about fooling people by pretending to come up with a crime plan that's not working. He said that all of these things that he's saying he put in place when he was commissioner of police, Hines never told him to do that. Stuart Young never told him to do that. He did it of his own volition. And if he had the powers to do it, it means Ulla Christopher has the same power to do it as well. So if she isn't doing it, you don't blame Hines for that. She has responsibility for the police. She made the decision for the police to bring back their kit and to go back to wearing the gray and blue. She did that, not the minister. So it tells you the power that the commissioner has. And therefore, the heads of these divisions, Johnny Abraham liked to talk about how when he was in charge of the Central Division, and is the one thing I will give him credit for, that he and his senior officers came up with a plan. And they said to lock down Shogunas area, so every possible route of escape if a major crime, if they committed a crime in the Shogunas area, the Central Division, he knew what the main arteries were, and you have police officers stationed close to. So if it is that they're trying to get back onto the highway, so they're in Shogunas Central proper, and they want to try to get on the highway to escape, we have officers at every possible artery. That makes sense. You could drive from Arima to Port of Spain on any given day, and you will not see one single police car on the highway. The only one you might see is done by Silas just before NP there. You will see about one vehicle there. You're supposed to have vehicles at different points. When that killing took place, was it last year or year before? Year before, I think. When the woman who was shot by St. Augustine because she took a peek, they had a big shootout on the highway with the the Trinidad artist who was coming from the airport with the thing and they ambushed the car and the woman was shot in her head. They should have had police vehicles on different points on the highway. That was the easiest way to lock down them fellas. Where was that? After that incident, you think the police will say, all right, this happened. So we know where the main artery points are. We're supposed to have vehicles at different points on the highway. For the first 2-3 days after the incident, you see that. And then afterward, the police cars disappear. So you can have another incident like that and plenty places they could use to escape. Whose fault is that? Mr. Hines supposed to pick up the phone and tell Lola Christopher to have a police car not too far from Piaco and have one close to Macoya and have one close to by QREP and then one down by Grand Bazaar. He's supposed to do that. These divisional heads supposed to know that. Nobody didn't need to tell Johnny Abraham to do that in Central Division. That is why you have a police commissioner who is earning a salary probably more than the minister. Gary Griffith was earning more than the minister. So he had to work for his pay. Look, miss me with this nonsense, eh? Brian. Greetings.
Like I say, Happy New Year to you, your callers, your listeners, and all the best.
Brian, just for 1 second, eh? 1 second. Winston, Mr. Hines cannot sign any arrest warrant. Warrants are given by judicial officers. A judge, a minister cannot sign any arrest warrant to lock up no Christmas list. Where do you get this misinformation from? That is why we're being told with the state of emergency that is why certain constitutional rights have been suspended, because the police, in order to arrest, they need to go before a judge, convince the judge that they have reasonable cause to arrest this person, and the judge will then issue a warrant. The minister cannot sign any arrest warrant. Brian, go ahead.
Dominic, it is amazing that in 2025, some people still do not know what is the responsibilities of a minister, especially a minister who has been front and center for the opposition and others for so long. And they want to let me find out exactly what Minister Hines' responsibilities and portfolios is. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing after so long that people still call, and then when you ask certain questions, the phone going bad. The lamest of excuses because you cannot respond to your question. This minister is not even going back up for elections, and still all because of certain opposition members who want to ensure that he stays in the limelight, even though he is not returning after the next election, even though he is returning. That you will have miscreants, even journalists, like Akash Samaru, able to step down, as if that was part and parcel of why they called him in the media conference. All because they want to keep Hines in the limelight, because there's nothing else for them to talk about.
Correct.
And even you want to keep him in the limelight. You don't even know what he does. You don't understand. You won't read, you won't research to find out exactly what happened. What is a minister? What is his responsibility? But you know what's amazing with all of this? You have members of the opposition who before the court. And I haven't heard anybody asking Kamala Prasad Visesa, is David Lee going back up? Is Rudal Munilal going back up? What happened to the case that what Munilal was supposed to send in a defense? Has he done so? Nobody asking those questions. How come it's taking so long to give up the members of your team who's supposed to go up for elections? You know why? Well, she doesn't know, she's hiding it very, very close because she don't want to create any really acrimony and any fussing and fighting until maybe the last day before they have to deposit the $5,000. That is the only reason. But nobody is talking about these things. The government has decided to have a state of emergency with respect to giving the police additional powers to perhaps find all of these firearms and ammunition and to hold those they believe are responsible through intelligence and so on. It's a good week. Not a good week. No turnover, and everybody who against this government, who always asking for them to do more, without giving any advice on the more they're referring to, and even giving this a chance. For 9 years, the opposition failed to support any piece of legislation with respect to dealing with crime in the parliament. They decided through Kamala Prasad, we said to their leader, hey, we ain't supporting absolutely nothing. Majority of the legislation had to be watered down in order to get it through. You even getting these things? UNC failed to support, and they came up with all of the worst excuses why they're not supporting legislation. And then every time they meet in the Monday night forum, and the Sunday morning stupidness, they say they're concerned about crime. And look who's the man leading that talk. A man who has to answer questions before the court. I find that so the hypocrisy of it all. And he is the shadow minister for national security. He is on the Joint Select Committee for national security. It is a crying shame, and nobody talks about these things. And he before the court, your chief whip before the court on a criminal matter. Nobody don't ask no questions about these things. But Gerald Hines, who have no matter before the court, why you don't step down? Step down for what? And everything this government will do but it started since last year. But everything that this government wants to build a latrine in Port of Spain is because they do this because of the elections. Everything is gimmickry for them. From now till election day, regardless of what this government attempts to do. But you know what they want? They want the government to just say, okay, we ain't doing nothing more until after the election. That is what they want. It does not matter what this government does. Whatever they attempt to do to keep the country going, to keep the economy going, it is all because of the election. Really? What is their solution to crime? What is Kamala Prasad's solution? I remember the new Attorney General saying the other day, this was the first time he saw Kamala Prasad in the parliament. She has been missing. She takes 5-day weekends. Nobody is talking about that, but she wants to call Dr. Rowley greedy, lazy, and dotish and all sorts of stupidness. Lazy, and you taking 5-day weekends, and you holding the last SOE. Where you announce it from? Your house, down in the Philippines. Not even in the Prime Minister's office, official residence, official office. You didn't announce it there. You announced it down in the Philippines because you was running the country from Philippines. Nobody don't talk about these things. Nobody don't talk about she can't get up in the morning to come to work in Port of Spain. And when she realizes it's taking too long to come to go by she takes a helicopter that we have to pay for. Back and forth. Nobody don't talk about these things. Nobody don't talk about the $173 million in 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that she used to have a good time compared to the amount Dr. Rowley used over a 10-year period. Don't talk about these things. But they want to know about Hines. And Hines is the one to do this, and Hines. If you don't know, shut up. Don't waste your time. You don't understand and you don't know. It irks me when people who don't know Koila talk about why the Hines don't do this, and why Hines don't do that, and why Hines don't do the other. And you don't know. These are policy that has to be implemented by who? The Commissioner of Police and her subordinates. But they will talk and they will talk and they will talk and they will talk and they will. Even the SOE, which I thought was really a fantastic measure because they still can go to your feds, go about your lawful business, And once you have no concerns as far as the law is concerned, you don't have a problem. But everybody concerned that, oh God, what happened to me? What happened to earlier? Nothing. That's normal, but no, they want to put some, they're looking for some excuse. Prakash Ramadan, everybody looking for some lame excuse as to exactly why it is there shouldn't be no SOE. Why? But they want the government to do more. More of what? Explain what the more is. If you don't agree that the government has done what they could, but then explain to us what is the more you are referring to. What more do you think that they should be doing? Don't just come on board, they should be doing more. Explain. Even Fali disgusting, talking stupidness as well. When just the other day you were begging for police because of the murders in Tobago. You said, me and the Minister of National Security. But all of a sudden, no, you say you want to help. When murders, you oversaw the most amount of murders in the history and will ever see in Tobago. You have no clue as to what to do, but you're flying all over the world having a good time. And they won't pay the people the money that is being owed to them in Tobago. You're always talking about this government and Rowley, and you're bad talking Rowley and everybody. All of a sudden, everybody had this house slave thing about Dr. Why it is? These racist things that they're saying about Dr. Rowley. Why? When you have nothing to say about a race. Why? Huh? But we see people have to get up and understand and try to remember that Kamla Prasad Bisesa changed about 5 or 6 ministers of national security during her 5-year tenure. 5 or 6. She changed them. Fire this one, bring in another one. Fire that one, bring in another one. Because she had no handle on crime. Even the SOV was illegal. And then they said that they will find an excuse. People make money. All of these people who were the teen still making money. That this government has to pay them millions of dollars because there was no rational and no reason for it. Nobody don't talk about that. They don't talk about it. When they ask her, well, what is the reason? Come to the court and give us a reason. She best attorney Anna Ram Logan. They didn't even come. They not be courtesy to even send a note. They say, well, we will come and we will give you reasons why we had a SOE. Never came. And today, this government still in hauled before the court and has no answer but have to pay out money to people because Kamla Prasad Bisesa and Anna Ram Logan sat in the parliament and laughed and squirmed and smiled when all of these African people, over 8,000 people were locked up for no apparent reason. And that even didn't solve it because, as I said before, you changed about 6 ministers of national security. It didn't even work under you, but all of a sudden now you have the answer. What is the answer? She has none and will never have. And we know the reason why she wants to get back into office. Eric spoke about it, and we have to listen. That's why we keep telling you all, there's an assignment, because they're fooling you all. Now they have a little watchdog there talking about packers, stupidness. And it's why Gary Abu had to lick him up the other day, because he worked that he has turned the UNC into a labash. That's what he has done. And that's where they are. Dominic, I won't detain you any further. Have a good afternoon.
You too, sir. Thank you. So that was my last call for today. Right? So let me just do this for the benefit of people like Chris on YouTube. Right? Let me read this article from the 30th of April 2012. Cascade residents, prisoners in homes. Because he's saying Kamla was taking 5-day weekends and the country wasn't in this deplorable. Is it really? Residents of Cascade say they have become prisoners in their homes because of an upsurge of burglaries and armed robberies in the last 2 months. This is after the state of emergency. People who live on 2nd Avenue on Mount Hololo Road say they have been the victims of frequent robberies and home invasions, some of which were violent confrontations. And this affected The affected residents, who comprise mostly retirees and professionals, were unable to give an exact figure for those who are victims of the spate of robberies, but said more than 20 take place each month. 20 a month, Chris. This is under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. People in home invasions in Cascade, the people saying they feel like prisoners in their own home. Where were you all when this was happening? Let me remind you, Dina Sitahal was killed under Kamla Prasad Bisesa's prime ministership. Don't forget that. That family that was killed up in Paria, with the whole family that was kidnapped, and the grandmother and the mother and the 18-month-old child or something, so who was killed, skull cracked, and they buried them. And then the fella's name was Asmon something, take the teenage girl and had her in some little shack somewhere in the bush. And she reported this every day. He used to rape her and all of these things. These things happened under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Let's totally forget that. So when you all want to pretend as if, just remember, you have two people who are currently sitting behind bars in the prisons of Trinidad and Tobago, who are accused of being involved in the Dina Sitahal murder, who were beneficiaries of live sport, who received millions of dollars in contracts from live sport, and today are sitting in the prison waiting for their case to call, at least two of them, for their case to call with respect to their involvement in the Dina Sitahal killing. Chris, and Josodra. I call you forget them things, or we don't forget, right? 76 murders in Dabadeo Mirror under Anil Roberts' tenure as the MP. 76 murders, box train contracts, murders, and so on. Everything. Lifesport went from 6 million to 400 million. They had Hooper Life over 70 million till the point where Gary Griffith had to intervene as minister to overhaul the program because the theft that was taking place. You had John Sandy, First Minister of National Security. You had Jack Warner, Colin Patap, who was a minister in the Ministry of. You had Gary Griffith. You had Emmanuel George. You had Carl Alfonso. 6 of them. 6 in 5 years. Why? Since they were doing such a great job. And then you had the Ministry of Justice then too. You had Herbert Volney was Minister of Justice. Chris Linmore was Minister of Justice. Emmanuel George again was Minister of Justice. Who else they had? I even remember the rest of them. Changing ministers like if you're changing underwear. But that's what all you like. A cabinet of 33 people to run a country of 1.4 million people. While at the same time, Barack Obama, who was president of the United States, had a cabinet of 23 people to run a country of 335 million. And that making sense to all you. As I had to point out to Josodra a couple days ago, the majority of politicians in Trinidad and Tobago who have come before the courts and who still have matters before the courts have come from the House of the Rising Sun, the UNC. The only party in this country, the only prime minister ever to face a charge came from the UNC. The only attorney general to face a charge came from the UNC. Former senator, UNC. Ministers, Brian Kwaitong, Russell Huggins, all of these people, Carlos John, all of them came from the UNC. Danraj Singh, charged for murder, the UNC. So when it is all you want to come and pretend I want PNM and the PNM and the PNM. The PNM is under transformation, right? Under transformation. All you know when Kamala leaving, she want to hold on for power for their life. If she lived 105, she will remain the political leader of the UNC. That's the stupidness. But all you wouldn't call them out on the nonsense. That is why you have the chief whip. What an embarrassment to have the man who's sitting as the chief whip in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago is before the court on $1 million bail for fraud, misbehavior in public office, conspiracy. You have another member of Parliament who is under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. You all knew these things before they were screened, before they were selected. But these men came before your screening committee in the UNC. They were asked questions, despite the fact that all this information was in the public domain. And yet still, will they select them? You have Arnold Ram, who was fired from not one but 2 public utilities companies for gross misconduct. And this information was out there before he was screened. And yet still, you all pick him to serve as MP. You couldn't find nobody else with integrity within the UNC. That is why Rodney Charles had to say nobody of integrity want to associate themselves with the UNC. That's why Ole had to go to the bottom of the barrel and pull people from the lagoon to represent you. as members of parliament. But these candidates like them would have never gotten past the screening committee in the PNM. No way. Absolutely no way. That is why they know which party to align themselves with, because Arnold Ram know he would have never be an MP under the PNM with a track record like that. Ravi Rajaram would have never, in fact, he wouldn't have even been able to, he wouldn't even come before the screening committee because they know better than that. The party group and them know, do even entertain that thought to send that man before the screening committee. So he can come, but only allow this man to come before the screening committee, screen him, ask him questions, and then pick him with all the track record that he have. And you have Ramona Ramdial saying she could not support him because of the evidence of wrongdoing. Not allegations, she couldn't support him because of the evidence. And people like all your Chris and just Odra and all your who supporting that nonsense. And we're talking about crime. White collar crime is a crime too. What David Lee did is a crime. It's taxpayers' money we're talking about. And if you could do that when you're in opposition, it says what you will do when you're in government. $800 million in houses cannot be found that was supposed to be built from 2013 to 2015. And all you ain't talking about that. You're not calling on Munilal to answer where that 800 million went. You're not calling on Kamla to answer where that 800 million went. And all you ain't care about that. But put them back in office again. So they could cover the tracks. So whatever we have not discovered yet, they could clean it up before it is found out. But you have no problem letting them get away with that. But 100 million, AV jillion, because for you less is more. So 800 million, now we can let us slide. But the 100 million, nah, we were back with money. That is the foolishness. And that's what you all want to put back in office in this country. Right? In opposition, you have Gary Griffith who went and testified before a joint select committee of parliament that members of the opposition spent $42 million to engage the services of the criminal element. Police provided evidence where they showed 3 opposition MPs in collusion with the criminal element. Munilal meeting with criminals in the Hyatt. Gary Griffith testified to that. And yet still you're supporting these people but want to come and talk about what the state of the country. If all you could support David Lee remaining as the chief whip and the fact if that was the PNM, no. All you hear Laurel Azama leasing accused of was an allegation, ex parte, right? The husband went in the court and make a claim and say about domestic abuse, and she was gone as a senator. She was gone. Ansel Antoine was selected to represent the PNM as the MP for Dabadi Omera. And one piece of stupidness, he went on a platform to say, call Trump something or something. I can't remember what it was exactly. Selected and was deselected immediately. Hey, Dr. I say, that is it there for you. Call on the constituency executive. We opening back screening. Find some new nominees and send for us, please. Mr. Antoine is out. Just because he says some stupidness that was deemed to be disrespectful. But all you put a man inside there accused of human trafficking and prostitution, selected him. And when the media brought to this Pasad Bises's attention and asked, you know what she said? I have confidence in all of my candidates. She have confidence in all of her candidates. That's why she still have questions to answer with respect to the 135,000 that Barry gave her. And he can't remember where he gave it for. But she could remember. Her memory good. She's more than twice his age, but he can't remember. You know why he can't remember? Because it says when you give monies multiple times, you don't want to mix up your story. You don't want to mix up your story. So it suggests there's more than one set of money you give. So I don't want to give the reasoning for another set of money and give it as that. Since 2020, Mark Bassant brought that to the public. No follow-up. No follow-up on that. Police investigating. What's going on with that? The Integrity Commission investigating. But Chris and just trying to ask about that. Nah, because you know why? You all are enablers and upholders of wrongdoing. You're all part of a brotherhood of wrongdoers. You could only see PNM wrongdoing, but when it comes, oh gosh, yeah. And every time you highlight, rather than deal with it and say, yes, punish them. Yeah, but the PNM do. Let me play tit for tat. The PNM do. And I keep saying, anybody in the PNM who engaging in wrongdoing, lock their backside up. And we are not afraid to say, oh, Holleran did wrong, and Privat did wrong, and whoever else. But that is 5 decades ago. Yes, they did wrong. We don't know in Mali McDonald's case, the matter never came before, was never fully ventilated in the court, and she has gone to the great beyond. So that matter has ended. So we don't know, but I think there are other persons who were also charged in that matter, and they are still alive. So the outcome of their cases will tell us whether or not there was guilt on the part of Marlene McDonald. So even so, in that her reputation still may not escape. But if she did wrongdoing, as Dr. Rowley say, anytime you get caught in wrong, stand up on your own. Don't look for me to support you. Folks, it's already 2:30. Thank you all so much for joining me. As Angela says, the UNC cohorts lack integrity and are inundated with people who are accused of criminal activities. As a fact, criminal activities. And when their own could come out afterwards and talk about it. That when they had the internal election last year, you had people like Dinesh Rambali coming and talking about who accused of human trafficking and who this and that. That is what it takes for you to come and speak out on the wrongdoing in your party. That's what it takes. When it is that they're against you. But all the time you're quiet. But as soon as all you're up against each other for position, all of a sudden, everybody now come in and talk about Rodney Charles talking about the wrongdoing that's taking place in the party and who is accused of what and so on and why people not attracted to the party. You should have talked about it before. Don't wait until all you're in conflict then for you to come and call them out. It shows you're a blasted hypocrite and an upholder too. All of them is talking. You had Anita Haynes coming out to call out her colleagues who are under investigation. It can't be that it only bothering you when all you're fighting. It's wrong. But 5 of them, right? All of them coming and talk about it and who under investigation and whatnot. They're going back in the hole. But it's too late because it's out there. All you put it out there. You all did your live or you did your press conferences, whatever, and you call out your colleagues on their folly and their wrongdoing. And then afterwards, no, you lost. You're willing to. And you have the supporters of that party who are upholders. And all you wouldn't call them out. But we independents had nothing to do with the race. I don't want a man on $1 million bail serving as my Minister of Energy. He cannot represent me internationally. That is an embarrassment. I do not want my Minister of Public Utilities or my Minister of Agriculture to be under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. That is an embarrassment. I don't want somebody like that representing me. And the government represents every citizen regardless of which party you're for, which party you belong to. Once you're elected, you represent everybody. I don't want to be embarrassed. People telling me, but what kind of country are you running there? Leave that for the US that have a man who coming in as a president who's a convicted felon. Leave that for them. We don't want that here. Right? We don't want that here. So folks, we will chat again Sunday. Yeah. I think we went over the time today. So that can suffice for tomorrow. So Sunday, I'm sure there will be a lot of developments between now and Sunday for us to talk about. Remember, we're under the adverse weather yellow alert. So, and this is supposed to be until Friday. So please stay safe out there on the red carpet. Those of you who are with my family members later today, keep safe. The year now start. We don't need the road fatalities to go up. This now we've seen 2 murders already, unfortunately, for 2025. Let us hope we don't see an escalation and that the police do what they're supposed to do with respect to the SOE. It will only work if the police and with the assistance of the army, if they do what they're supposed to do, what they need to do. So let's talk about the police afraid to go here and they're afraid to go there. The police need to demonstrate they're not afraid to go anyway. But they need to go there prepared. That if they met with gunfire, they are prepared to respond in kind. And the law allows them to respond in kind. And if when the dust clear, you have casualties. Let us hope that the casualties are not the innocent bystanders, but those who continue to show themselves to be public nuisances. One way or the other, you need to get the job done. Right? So they could either end up in handcuffs or they end up on a cold slab in forensic. Either way. So we will chat again on Sunday, folks. Enjoy the rest of your New Year holiday. And it's, well, this is when I consider Christmas to be over, right, on New Year's Day. But we know Lewa runs until January 6th. So officially, Christmas ends on the 6th of January. But yeah. Make way for Carnival so this day. You're most welcome, Alana, Mikel, Niabo, all of you guys, Rena. Have a safe one, Phyllis Antoine, Pammy Gray. We will chat, Wilma Young. We'll chat again on Sunday morning, God's willing. All right? Take care.